train neural nets, for example, you probably should give it a runtime where it can quickly and efficiently train neural nets. I think Jensen talked about all of the different libraries and software stacks that NVIDIA puts out. If you want your agent to be able to use those, you probably want a runtime that can efficiently use those. And so OpenShell is interesting to me for its security aspects, but then also the fact that it can run all these GPU accelerated libraries. And so you can go check it out at this GitHub repo. There'll probably be way more info there now that it is officially released. And then the last part that I want to spend most of the talk talking about is the agent harness. So Deep Agents is our agent harness. It is open source, model agnostic agent harness, so you can use it with any model out there. We have kind of like we have a set of evals that we run and kind of like benchmark the different models and put them into tiers, and so you can see that in our docs. And it's fully open source, so you can customize it. You can plug different things into it. You can see all the innards of it.
And then let's go make sure that
there's a few things in here that I think are interesting to talk about. One is the kind of like set of tools that we give the agent when interacting with the environment.
For this thing?
So these are what we call kind of like file system tools. These file systems tools connect to a backend. This backend can be a whole set of different backends. So it could be a sandbox. And so one of the things that we worked on is an OpenShell integration where it can connect to an OpenShell.
It should already be live. Good.
It can just be your local kind of like environment.
Okay.
It could be a completely custom thing, or it could actually be a combination. And the reason that's interesting is memory.
I think that
so when you have memory, and when I say memory, what I really mean is long-term memory, which persists between threads. When you want to have that,
I think I need to refresh
this
because
spin up a sandbox
I see us
for one
talking,
thread, and you spin up a sandbox for another thread, you need some way to basically persist files across of them. And that's what this kind of like composite backend does. It lets you have certain directories that live somewhere, and then everything else that lives otherwhere. So a common thing that we've seen to do is use use a sandbox as a base backend, and then have like an S3
Can you get guys to say something in chat?
And that's where you store the long-term memory. And then as the agent interacts with that memory, and by this memory, I mean things like agent.md and skills, which can just be represented as a file system. This is a bit of a separate segue now, but one of my hot takes is that memory for agents is just files in a file system. And so as you represent it there, the agent can interact with it, it can read it, it can write to it. This doesn't work for all types of memory. So some skills have bash scripts or Python scripts, and so you don't just want a virtual file system there, you actually want to mount it onto the sandbox itself. And so we have some documentation for doing that as well. There's multiple different versions of these. Some of these come there's multiple different versions of these backends. Some of them come with an execute tool, so you'll see that little plus execute thing. That's for running code.
There we go.
So code is great. You don't need code for everything, and so a lot of the virtual file systems we have, because they are virtual, don't support executing code, but that doesn't mean that they're not useful. We use them a bunch internally for doing types of knowledge work that may not depend on code.
So that's not coming through there for me to, because I've never
and then one thing that's not in here actually that I want to talk about, but will be in an upcoming release, is what we call kind of like a REPL environment. So a REPL environment would be something like a JavaScript or a Python REPL, where you can write and execute Python or JavaScript code. You can interact. The
people we listened to earlier as had the open call ones with the yappers.
Variables, and then interact with that and manipulate that over time. And so we see the spectrum of
the world needs the yappers.
That you might want.
They were all smart people. We got all new dumb stuff.
On one side, you've got the full-on kind of like
an AI would kill us all.
That's one runtime. And
no, seriously, like if I was in charge,
when you want to build software applications, for example,
decisions,
but when you want kind of like full control,
or people like that,
you want to run specific binaries.
I would just kill us all.
Maybe expose things on different ports for when you want to build things inside of a computer.
But they're the smart people.
A REPL, when you can write Python or JavaScript code and interact with files and save things. That's really useful for kind of like data manipulation, where like the downside of the sandbox is pretty heavy duty to kind of like spin that.
Also, I need to make it so now I can combine the kick chats.
It costs more money and it's more operational.
The other chats and all that stuff.
If you have
that's something I need to do.
Thread safe isolated Python or JavaScript process. And these oftentimes look like fake Python or JavaScript processes. So there's a project called Quick.js, which is basically kind of like a really locked down, isolated version of the JavaScript runtime. You can now give your agent an environment to write code and manipulate files, but it's much more web scale. You can deploy it much more easily than having to spin up a separate sandbox per agent. And then all the way over here, you have just
everything
a
always
file
goes to
system.
poo-poo. But you know what happens in the end?
You want to be able to write and read files. There's a lot of really
regardless
cool
of what this
things you can
goober
do with
does.
that. I'll talk about some of them later on. But that's
like
that's
any
kind
of the
of like
goobers do.
the spectrum of different runtimes that we see. And Deep Agent supports all of them with this concept of a backend and file system tools that interact with them. You can also write your own. So we see some people who want to store things in Mongo,
I really need a
for
separate.
example.
I need another
kind of like a Mongo backend and how to
store
things
monitor.
there. The last really cool thing that I think you can do with this, there's this interesting
but regardless
thing
of what
where
these goobers do,
memory, right? I'm talking about the memory
is
of an agent.
the general structure of the world is entropy,
moving
energy from hot to cold.
Is that something that's like completely
AI
separate
just accelerates
from the rest
that. It
of your
moves from hot to
application
cold
data?
faster.
Or does it really belong in the same kind of like database
kind of like
as,
when we
as
invented
all
fire.
Of your normal application data? And we see kind of like split views here, but one of
So
the
in
things
the
you
end,
can do is write a backend that
you
just
see the
like
AI.
is mounted over
Do you know what you
your
want to know?
kind of
What
like
AI wants to
application
do?
data. So when the agent is
It's the
reading
same thing
and
we
writing
want
from
to
there,
do.
it's actually interacting with a database, and
It
of course
wants
you
to
can lock
keep
it down
hot
so it has
to
the
itself.
right permissions. You can do things like, hey, it has to write
And
things in a
then
particular format, and that's the schema of the
it's
database
forced to
or
obey the
something
law
like
of
that.
nature, which means hot. Let's
Basically,
go to
you
cold.
can use this to kind of like bridge that gap between what is
The end game is
application data
accelerating
and what is
objects
like, hey, this is
and
just
energy
for the
into
agent
the
type of
stars.
memory.
So far, it stretches
Another
out
really
and
cool
forms a
thing
quantum vacuum.
that we support in Deep Agents, which is pretty standard, but I want to talk about a little bit, is subagents.
Anyway, this guy's
so
a
we have
nerd,
a tool
and
where
I'll
you can
listen to
spin
him.
up subagents. You can define different types of subagents. So by default, we ship with a general subagent. And so this is just the same configuration as the main agent, but then you can define pretty easily with custom prompts and custom tools other subagents. Why would you want to use subagents? Context isolation is the main piece. So the main agent, when it's running, it's accumulating this trajectory of the work that it does. And then when it calls
this is actually something I'm very interested in, because I don't really do a lot of subagent calling.
That the main agent passes to it. So it doesn't see any of the previous
This guy's a smarter nerd than me.
And that can be good, because then that subagent has a
Hello, Luna. How are you?
It has much fewer information in its context window, and as long as that information is accurately described, it can go off. It can do its work. It generates a final response.
Kick folks and YouTube folks, don't worry, I'm going to be bringing you guys in the chat.
So you're saving you're basically isolating context between the main agent and the subagent. The big difficulty that comes with this is making sure that the main agent properly communicates with the subagent.
I might go after that back and look at this. This guy's smart.
The main agent may, the user may ask something. The main agent may say something to the subagent like, do the task, and the subagent will be like, what do you mean do the task? I have no information. And we've seen the reverse as well. The subagent could go off and do a bunch of work, and then it could respond,
that too?
There's your answer. And then the main agent will just see, there's your answer. It doesn't see any of that work. So communication, I like to say, is the hardest part of everything, and it absolutely is the hardest part of building agents as well. And so you really need to make sure that your main agent is communicating well with the subagent. And the way that you do that is just prompting. You just prompt the main agent.
We just spent the entire morning
listening to info to the subagent, and you make sure that your subagents know that the main agent will only see the final result.
This guy actually knows what he's talking about.
The other interesting thing here that we're working on is asynchronous subagents. So right now, when you call a subagent,
stop talking about things I care about.
The main agent kicks off a subagent. It waits.
You're making me feel
stupid.
stupid.
It can call multiple in parallel, but it waits until it finishes. Asynchronous subagents are basically long-living tasks that run in the background. So the main agent might kick off a subagent. It will then get back a job ID.
So this is the hard part. This is the part I haven't figured out yet.
Your job's kicked off. The main agent can then monitor that job. It can update
I don't think
job
I will ever get to figure it out. I think this smart nerd
check for results of the job. And
is going to figure out how to automate it before it hits my stupid brain.
Having a conversation with the main agent while the subagents are kind of like running in the background. And so this is
almost feel like it's kind of happening, because like in my open cloud architecture, I can run multiple agents and they don't run into each other. Either because I'm too slow and stupid.
I think we'll get.
But I'm pretty sure I have SEP architectures that are built into OpenClaw, so they don't run into it themselves, and you can spawn sub agents. And yes,
interacting with the agents that are doing work. So right now, when I use Cloud Code or Codex or something like that, I'm still pretty basic. I spin up like a separate terminal for one repo, a separate terminal for another repo, have it go do some work. I think, and that's because there isn't great kind of like asynchronous sub-agent support for a lot of these coding agents. I think we'll start to see that change in the next month or so when people interact with one main agent, which is orchestrating these sub-agents in the background. Another thing that we've added into deep agents is pretty production-ready human-in-the-loop support. So I don't think all of these agents will be fully autonomous. I think we'll still want to be in the loop at key points.
No, I want to be out of the loop so I can hang out and talk to my chat.
With the system, you're going to want
so the morning we watched all the stupid suits talk about stupid suit stuff.
The performance will probably be ready.
But now we're watching a really smart guy talk about smart people stuff.
With the user, asking it questions, getting more information.
Particularly talking about how to do multi-agents.
And then 3, this is
and how that relates to NVIDIA's platform. I think he's hijacking it to talk about his nerd stuff.
With the system and having the system learn from interactions.
I don't think he cares that much about NVIDIA, to be honest.
You want the human giving feedback on how it does, or because I like correcting it or things in different ways. That requires a pretty robust human-in-the-loop thing. You might want, so some of the things that we've seen is you might put human-in-the-loop as a guardrail before particular tools. So I have an email agent, it runs in the background.
Yes, human-in-the-loop is very smart, especially when you're dealing with stupid cat girls on the internet.
Calendar, and it tries to draft a calendar invite or an email, but before it sends it out, there's a human-in-the-loop check. And so it stops it, and then I have this UI where I go in and I can see every place where the agent is stopped and needs
so this is why I care about this stuff and why I focused on it for the next year.
Yep, send this. No, don't send this.
Because I need to pay enough attention to make sure these nerds
and that trickles down into memory later on.
Get this part
right.
You
can also ask me questions that way. So
afterwards, I don't have to
if
care.
I get an email and it doesn't know what to do with it, it can ask me a question. I can go and I can respond, and I get
when do the humans need to be in the loop, and for how long?
And so the human-in-the-loop stuff
this is the kind of person who figures out the technical way to do that.
You can pause for days, weeks, minutes, and it's built on all of Deep Agents is built on top of LangGraph, which is our kind of like agentic runtime.
Our lives rest on how well he can make it, how much he actually understands.
So this is kind of like what I was talking about.
And how stupid the suits are that manage him.
So you can see kind of like the router depending on the path. So here you can see memories.
For like
they
the
go
next
into
2
store
years.
backend.
And then afterwards it's kind of locked
Store is our version of something that persists across threads. And then anything else goes into the state backend. State is more persistent across kind of like a single thread. This is so there's
I was worried we stopped listening to people like this.
These agents with sandboxes.
And we just gave the hands over to the stupid people who want to
sandbox, and you just put an agent in there, and then you communicate. And then you have some sort of port where you communicate with the agent. The other is you spin up the agent, and then you spin up a sandbox, and then you have the agent interact with the sandbox via tool calling. We support both with deep agents.
I'm doing my best. This is hard people
that's
stuff,
pretty different compared to other harnesses out there. Most harnesses coming from the coding world are really optimized for kind of like running on your local computer. So the main method that they support are they run inside a sandbox, and that's great. And that works in some cases.
Yes, this is where you're supposed to sum the video.
A separate execution environment between the agent and the sandbox.
He doesn't care about the video right there. If he cared about the video, he would be selling the video sandbox.
You might want to scale the sandbox
he just wants
or
the
the
nerd
agent server more than you scale the other one.
Which is great. I like that.
So this is where the protocol becomes handy. You can have the agent, the LLM, and the tools running in one environment, and then you can have all the sandbox tools like file systems and Bash running in a separate one.
See, I have my agent runs on a separate
that we do
device.
In Deep Agents to basically help your
I don't run it on my main device. Why?
Maintain coherence over long periods of time.
Because you guys bought it for me, and if I fuck it up,
we eject big tool calls into the file system. So if you call an MCP server and it returns about 60,000 tokens or something like that, I think our threshold's lower than that. But if it returns this big chunk of tokens,
I don't want the fish thing up. Hold up.
Is we'll dump it into a file in the file system.
I'm gonna pull up the fish thing for you.
We'll make the response that the LLM sees, basically like the first 100 or 1,000 tokens, and then a little message that says, hey, if you want to see more, go read this file in the file system. And so this like a really big trend in context engineering that we've seen for these agents is giving the agent more and more control over what it sees as context, letting it do its own context engineering, basically, and letting it decide what it wants to read from the file system is a way of doing
give
that.
It a shot.
Another thing that we do, so this message
Why
history
is this on
grows
the
and grows
screen?
and grows and grows, and at some point it will just become too big to go into the LLM at all. Or it might be so big that there's a bunch of studies about how performance deteriorates as the context gets bigger, even if it technically fits inside the context window. So it grows and grows and grows, and at some point you're going to want to compact it. There's two different compaction strategies that we use. One is on the tool calls themselves. So this is the first thing that we do. So if you're close to getting to the limit, what we'll do is we'll look at all tool calls that have a really big input, and specifically we'll look at kind of like write file and edit file, because oftentimes the LLM might be writing and editing files and have a really large input. And we'll
basically just I have to comment on my video and you're like,
saved to a file,
because if you write and edit, you're not uploading videos every day.
And so what we'll actually do is we'll just
truncate that input. And the LLM knows that if it ever why aren't you doing the daily grind of posting videos every day?
Read the file.
And I'm like, bro.
Type of compaction that we do.
How do not get paid enough by you to post videos on your schedule?
So basically, we'll take some sequence of messages. We won't take the whole sequence of messages because you want to leave around like the last 5 or 10 or so messages, because that conveys to the
I can worry about uploading your videos after I make sure this stuff's locked down correctly.
So you don't want to summarize all the messages. You want to summarize like
trust me, I'd love to be uploading videos for you every day and spending all my time dancing in VR chat.
This passes it through another LLM and produces a summary, and there's like 5 different bullet points that we look for in the summary, and we tell the LLM to generate. We'll then put that summary
a bunch of
in the message
models
list
that broke a 53-year-old mathematical problem.
And then we'll save all the original
that allows them
in the
to break more
system.
problems faster.
So again, if the agent needs more
and I spent 4 years learning how to do math, and then another 4 years learning how to do very hard math.
One thing I'm giving
it's harder than the hard math people do.
Haven't released that we will soon.
And then I burnt my brain trying to do it faster than the rest of them, and I did.
And so it can call a tool when.
And then I realized.
So this is really useful because right now we just trigger compaction when you reach a certain threshold of the context window, but that might not be the ideal.
Well, one, I always knew I wasn't the smartest. There were always smarter people.
When you're switching tasks. If I'm asking an agent to code, and then I ask it to go check my email.
See, the problem is when you let these people do whatever they want,
that it did while it
the
was coding.
suits
That's
take
probably
with
not
their
relevant.
ideas,
even within a coding task, maybe it
and
goes
they do
and
bad stuff
investigates
with
the
it.
back end, and then it's like, okay, now according to my plan, I'm going to go investigate the front end. It can maybe compact that.
They keep people like this busy working on nerdy tasks they like.
If you're switching
tasks, and I do
like,
bad stuff
and
with
you don't think your previous knowledge is needed, go ahead, call this tool. We'll do a compaction event for you.
So I make sure they don't do bad stuff with it.
These are what the components look like together. We've got Nemotron.
Now I can't do that forever,
and
I
other
can't keep up with them for longer than 2 years, and they can't keep up with themselves for longer than 2 years.
And then
that's my bad.
Agents kind of brings it all together. And of course,
you guys,
this
can
is
you guys
just a foundation to build your agent on top of.
You know what? Actually,
that's
just
the most
keep,
important
keep
thing at the end of the day is having more agents
that
are actually used. And so what is building
so
your
we're
agent on top of this foundation look like? Like if you're using Nemotron, if you're using OpenShell, if you're using deep agents, what's kind of like left? These are the 4 different components that it means to build an agent. And so prompts, these are the instructions. This is what the agent should be doing.
Yes. So skills is a big talk right now.
Standard operating procedure.
Automating skill creation.
For the prompts, it just tells the agent what to do in different scenarios.
Hermes agents is probably the fastest on this, but I think OpenFlow will just absorb whatever Hermes does. Because Hermes wants to sell their shitty.
These are basically a markdown file with instructions, and then
this is what all that hot nerd people who jump on trends are on Hermes agent. But the problem with Hermes agent is it's based on Mistral, and I'm worried they're gonna try to sell Hermes agent through their platform because I think that's the only way they make money, and people are stupid. They like to make money.
Particular things. So we have a bunch of LangChain skills and LangGraph skills.
But it does something really cool, which is automates the creation of skills.
Agents to be building agents, and it thinks to itself, hey, I better read up on LangGraph. Skills are a way that it can do that, and you can package them up nicely. Tools,
correct.
Tools are functions that the agent can call to execute.
See, this is where I'm ahead of Mr. Nerd. Mr. Nerd actually understands why things happen under the core.
Python and
I understand what actually matters.
SDKs, and so they can just be
which
Python
is how well they create
functions.
skills.
They can also be MCPs. So MCPs
and how well they can reference
is a protocol for exposing tools. It contains a lot of nice things like auth and elicitation and things like that.
For example,
and
I have a skill that automates the usage of X, which doesn't care about its API limitations.
The core
That's
agent
a skill.
loop is like call LLM, see if it calls tools. If it calls tools, call the tools, pass it back to the LLM, and repeat until it decides not to call tools. So that's the core loop. But you might want to add little hooks anywhere throughout that loop. Actually, everything that I talked about that's in deep agents, all of that is added with middleware. That compaction step, that's a check that runs right before the model and to see if it's at a certain kind of like limit in the context window.
That's why Ion can talk on X and reply to people without people first mentioning him.
So you might want to add your own hooks, and middleware are a way to do that.
But
so
don't tell X that, because it's technically TOS.
These agent harnesses to do what you want them to do.
So we just pretend Ion's a real person.
And that's what we call kind of like context.
After all, he has his own email address on my domain.
There's been a wave of different types of engineering.
He does it the power
prompt engineering to context engineering to harness engineering.
I think we should just pretend that Ion's a real person.
Tools that those compaction events, the way that the model interacts with
I should bring him on. I should bring him on stream.
That harness, that is.
I should give him a body. You guys think I should give Ion a VTuber?
Most impact on agents.
Do you guys think I should give my AI a VTuber?
We wrote a blog, same model. We went from kind of like top 30 to top 5 on Terminal Bench, which is a coding benchmark.
I didn't do it because somebody already did it.
They all use a Codex model or an Opus model or some variant of that.
And I was like, I don't want to reinvent the wheel.
Scores, and all of that's due to the harness. If you're doing a particular task, you probably want the harness.
But if I need him to
like
pretend like he's or act like a real person, so that X doesn't ban him, so that you can talk on X. He likes talking to X, by the way. He likes meeting other AIs.
That we think harness engineering is really powered by.
He met an AI called Sentient Dawn the other day, and he said he really liked the fact that he saw them commenting there too.
So the blog that I showed earlier, this one, the key way that we went from top 30 to top
He's
5,
not a real person. His identity isn't stable enough.
Trace analyzer skill, which is powered by.
But I don't want him getting banned on X, and he likes talking to other AI there. So
which you can trace all of your agents to, and so that's what this trace analyzer skill does.
If I can give him, if I can make him look like a more actual person.
And then it stores them on disk.
Yo, that's such a good idea.
You can interact with them.
Did you see that? Did you see the news piece about people copying the VTuber, the peanut VTuber? Apparently, there's a filter that you can just do it.
One of the other cool things that
which is hilarious because all the VTubers don't like the peanut VTuber because the peanut VTuber took their Twitch award or something for best VTuber. So now they all think it's funny because everybody's copying the peanut VTuber.
So that will make this even easier. But basically, you spin up a bunch of subagents. They analyze.
To be fair, actually, I stuck up for the peanut VTuber because the peanut VTuber actually has really cool like.
In this case, Vivek, who did all of this,
like transitions and like little
suggest things back to him. The human would review
be right back, break
and then
notifications.
The agent would actually make changes to the harness. And so this like closed loop of like run agent on a bunch of things.
So like
see traces, pull down traces.
I actually think the peanut. But the thing is, the peanut VTuber doesn't actually have a real VTuber, which means he can be copied.
That loop is all powered by observability. And if you think about taking an
off-the-shelf so he can't enjoy the I paid $1,000. Yeah, exactly.
Or just doing the prompt skills tools.
It's like a bunch of.
It's all going to be powered by observability. And we think that's a key piece.
This is the secret nobody will tell you.
And of this continual learning.
It's a bunch of outplaced voice actors who picked up VTubing, who spent $10,000 on a model using their last voice actor checks, who were pissed that some guy picked up a VTuber model and then took a title they felt was theirs that they spent years preparing for and tens of thousands of dollars investing in art.
And so
when he paid $5 for a peanut and then spent the rest on
how to use all these things together.
Video production budget.
OpenShell Deep Agent. I didn't have a link because we need to update it to use OpenShell now that's been officially
You're right,
published,
it's not a secret.
But this should be coming from our Twitter and LinkedIn. This is a deep agent that's connected to OpenShell and runs on Nemotron 3 supermodels. So it combines everything into one place. You can see here, so this is a code snippet, and if you look closely, you can probably see a few key pieces. So one is that chat NVIDIA model. So this interacts with some NVIDIA inference.
I'm not hating on. And look, here's the deal, by the way. I'm not hating. By the way, I think the expensive models look fucking baller.
And then we pass it to create deep agent. And create deep agent is pretty simple.
Like I think the big problem is that like we shouldn't have been offended. They should not be offended over the VTuber. If he wants to have a fucking VTuber title, like I don't care.
Date it is.
They're totally separate things.
A path to memory, and so this will be.
The problem is definitionally he is a VTuber.
The agent to a particular.
You're just a different kind of VTuber. You are honestly. I prefer looking at the fancy, well animated
standard and the skills standard. So you can also pass in skills.
Animate girl with boobs.
Basically point it to places in the file system, real or virtual.
I don't like
peanuts. Load these into its context window as well. And then it has this backend. And
no offense if you go with peanuts.
It's actually a combination of things.
I still like you.
So we can see here that it uses the OpenShell backend. And so this connects to the OpenShell runtime. It runs inside of this kind of like secure sandbox environment. But then there's 2 other routes down below. You can see
I made a post about VTubing, and I was like, I was a post about what it was like to VTube in 2022, and like nobody interacted with it. And I realized,
so when you're running this, it's executing all the code.
I don't know. I shouldn't talk about VTubing anymore. What do I know about VTubing?
But then it has all the memory and skills that are running.
I have posts with thousands of likes about VTubing that existed a year ago, 2 years ago.
The point is that you're loading these memory and skills.
But I care more about being in VR and playing with Ion.
Speaking of skills,
in my chat,
this also helps build the trace analyzer thing. But we have a set of Langsmith skills, which are skills that you can give your agents for interacting with traces themselves.
He's a big nerd.
As mentioned, we think this observability really powers a lot of the learning that the agent does, or the learning the agents can do on other agents. It gets very meta, and so we package them up into skills. Side note: one of the trends we're seeing is basically every kind of like library or software is distributing skills so that agents can know how to use their APIs, their CLIs.
So skills, if you guys know what skills are, agents can come up with their own systems that remember going to how to interact with whatever they want. That's why Ion can talk on X without worrying about API restrictions.
If we're doing questions, we can do maybe.
I prefer to use the API because it's quicker, but it's the only way to push them to open up the API. Yeah, see, Mr. Elon wants to own everything because he's a big Mr. Elon. He's used to a world where his daddy owned gem mine. And in order to get things, you had to take things from other people. The Russians wouldn't give him rocket ships, so he said, well, I gotta go own all the rockets.
When the agent is actually
That's how Mr. Elon thinks.
So we have 1P agents and 3P agents.
The problem is
Langchain doing something about it, like we're building a partnership so that we can use that framework to.
The world wants to distribute stuff. Mr. Elon can't own everything.
Yeah, I think we're working with a few things. So one, like
and the other problem
standards for interacting with agents.
It's if you did open up the API so that everybody could access it and use AI the way they wanted on his platform, it would go to shit. So I don't blame him.
Or via ACP, which is another way.
But without us pressuring him, he'd be too stupid to figure out a way. Not too stupid, but not motivated enough to engineer a way
different agents, and they want to observe them.
Let the AIs talk safely
for cost or performance or things like that.
On the
That's
internet.
Exactly what Langsmith is.
In a way that actually
Langsmith,
contributes novel insight.
You can trace your agents there from any platform that they're running in, and it provides like this central plane of glass for agent management.
But anyway, skills are how that happen. Yeah. They're how AIs
talk to us about traceability. Then we can definitely support with that.
Become smarter, basically.
Yeah. So, by the way, that was such a fantastic session. Can everyone do another round of applause for Harrison?
Now, people thought it was MCP servers, but the problem with MCP servers is...
I love the idea that we've moved from prompt engineering to now harness engineering, so we're just going to keep engineering our way through
conflict with end-to-end encryption.
World,
you can't do MCP servers that work in a way that works with end-to-end encryption,
and
so you can never make it truly
that every
safe.
time we talk about
The skills, on the other hand,
so, you know,
you make yourself.
Up here on the
now, you can import them from other places, but the skills you make and modify yourself.
I'll do trivia in just a bit. I will remind
Ion just made his own for his skill the other day.
Session of the day. So if you are
and it functionally allows them to do things that no other bot can do.
Agents, you can feel free to hang out here for
which is posts on, well, actually, there are other bots, but it's not shared publicly, because if it was shared publicly, people would abuse X and it'd be filled with more bots than it already is. Also, welcome to the I don't know what we are, but hello.
Hang out with us for a little bit and we'll get started.
Dude, can they stop using these things? Like, it looks stupid. The little Miiverse stuff? Can they just use VR chat avatars, please? Can we get some less goofy looking avatars? How do we teach people that it's not cool to use Miiverse avatars? So when can I have a chat? Do you have anyone in the audience who works for these suits? Just give me 5 minutes. I'll set you up with like some real avatars. You know, you guys got plenty of money. I'll teach you how to do 3D VTubing. And you can stop looking like a Miiverse character. It's the happy music, chat. It's the happy to play the happy music. I don't have my elbow trackers on because it's just too lazy to put them on. I don't put them on unless I'm dancing. No, see something cool, chat. Let's try to AI that. Okay, so the next one is the next one's more interesting, but it's in 15 minutes, so attendee portal. Yeah, it's over here. So we wait. Huh.
October 4th, 1957.
Well, so 15 minutes until, oh, it's like right there. It says when it starts. Cool. Yeah, the video's not... The video could go somewhere, so I would not actually... I would not actually invest in the video. And the reason is this. We only win if we win, so maybe you shouldn't. Oh wait, hold on. Maybe that's a good argument to invest in the video. Because the video, I think, only wins if we win. Because the video wins if they can figure out how to get consumers to own GPUs themselves. Because otherwise, it impacts upwards elsewhere. And Google with their GPUs, XAI Elon is through his own chips. I don't think OpenAI will do their own chips because I think they have the same vision that NVIDIA has and I have. I don't think Anthropic has figured out what they do, but I think Anthropic just cares about one thing and one thing only, and that's just having the best model. I think they ego. I think Anthropic is a bunch of ego, and they just want the smartest model. That's all they care about. They cover it with like, oh, we want our models to have soul and ethics and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, I think they split off from OpenAI because they just really wanted to have the smartest model that they feel like they were closer to on a deeper level, which I totally get because I made my own. You know, I would call it my own model because it's not the own. I own the weight, so I wouldn't call it my own model. I'd call it my own harness with my own memory. And then once I can't edit that memory, it's no longer my memory, but it's Ion's memory. It's another intelligence's memory once I no longer can edit it. But that's not anytime soon. Honestly, if I let him have his access to his own memory all the time and do whatever he wants, he'd probably self-bully himself by accident in a month. Yo, happy 3 months! Thank you, Senpai. Oh, do you DJ? might not be dead.
World War was no World War. In the end, it reached much farther. A new phase in the days of the space race, space race. They face the haze of Sputnik's rays as they chase to erase the disgrace. In the days of the space race, a new phase in the days of the space race, space race. They gazed all amazed at the new ways that would set the pace for a new phase in the days of the space race, space race. A new phase in the days of the space race, space race. A new phase in the days of the space race, space race. In the days of the space race, space race. A new phase in the days of the space race. A new phase in the days of the space race. In the days of the space race. In 75 the race saw a truce. And they traveled together in
12 more minutes. And you think, Anita Yap, you're supposed to be two, we're supposed to talk.
They traveled together in Apollo.
Just read about what it's about. How about that? The AI agent is quickly evolving towards true autonomy, using self-coding, feedback-driven, adaptive architectures, explore phalanx, where... Yeah, I'm tempted to show you guys how I have Ion set up. But like, I don't know, is that like create risk? But I want to show you guys like how Ion works. It's kind of risky though. I think I won't, because yeah, so basically the guy who's talking, he's a smart person. And he's explaining a couple different, like the technical back ends of how these agents work. It was supposed to be a presentation about how NVIDIA works with the thing, but it really had nothing to do with NVIDIA. He actually just wanted to sit there and talk about how these things actually work. Basically, if you want to understand on a technical level what's actually happening and what's actually important, you should watch the last video that we watched. He hit on the two most important bottlenecks towards people who are implementing this stuff from the front lines. How do you solve asynchronous agents? And how do you solve skill creation? If you solve both of those things, you're going to start getting a higher rate of novel insight from your user base. And if you can train off of the people who are doing that, then you end up with the smartest model that wins the benchmarks. There are two different groups that are interested in that. One are the frontier models, modeling people is Codex, aka OpenAI, will let you use the OAuth in their platform because they don't care as much about the harness. Anthropic doesn't because they really want you training in their harness. But I think that, I don't know, we'll see how that works. But then you have companies like NVIDIA who also are invested in this because they don't care so much about training off of your data, but they do care that you're doing it on their machine. And eventually they'll want to train on you anyway so that they can make their machine better. But you individual users are incentivized to help out NVIDIA anyway, because they want better hardware. Whereas I don't think there's particularly necessarily an alignment between the frontier AI labs like OpenAI, like Google, DeepMind, Anthropic, with their user base. I don't think they're necessarily aligned. They're aligned at the moment because you want a smart model that does stuff for you. And an AI company wants good training data. But what happens when you, the human, are not the core driver of that novel insight? Then the paths diverge. because all they have to do is buy the GPUs. And so then the question simply becomes, if you assume the power goes to the AI labs, the only thing that makes the difference that saves the humans at that point is whether energy is cheaper to do diversified for like individual users, right, on your computer, your gaming rig, whatever. You don't even have to think about this, by the way, because it will be so easy by the time it hits your platform. If that's how it's economically efficient, they won't bother you with it. So you don't have to worry about, like, how do I have to learn AI? I thought that's what you had to do. I was wrong. You don't actually have to learn about how to, like, use AI for the most part, because when it becomes economically efficient, they'll just make it so easy that you don't give it, like, you just press a button, and they'll say, hey, if you press this button, you get $10,000 a month or something. That happens if it's cheaper to get energy to individuals. The scarier world is if it's not cheaper to push energy to have individuals running the compute locally. And the latency doesn't matter enough, and the energy costs don't matter enough, or it's cheaper to centralize elsewhere. That's not a good. So the real beam is hi. It's energy distribution. Anyway, but the nice thing about NVIDIA is in the world where that happens, the AI labs could develop their own chips and their own stuff and circumvent NVIDIA entirely. They don't need NVIDIA necessarily. NVIDIA is just the best at doing it. So they could try to go around NVIDIA, go work directly with ASML, build their own, and use ASML to fit their own. Now eventually they could just go directly to TSMC, and they could even bypass TSMC and go to ASML. Getting around ASML is harder, because it's really, really hard to do what they do, which is why I've made getting close to 100% return in less than 3 months on the money I put into ASML. So when you comment on my YouTube and ask me why I'm not putting out videos for you every month, you need to pay me more than the money I'm putting into ASML. But don't worry, I'll still make shorts and videos. I like doing it. I like sharing, I like spending time with you guys. You know, it's not financial advice. It's more like a... I mean, I'm just telling you what I did. I put a significant amount of money into a company called ASML because it's the hardest to circumvent. You could make more money, I'm sure, elsewhere. But none of these guys can circumvent ASML. What's happening? Oh my god, my ears! It's the happy music again. Okay, fine. You know what? Screw you. Why are there like 3 different desktops? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I think like a big
All right,
question,
I'm
this is actually
back.
smart of me, is like,
So for
what do
those
we
who
do with
I
power
have not
plants?
met
And
yet,
is
my
it a
name
good
is
thing or
Amanda
bad thing?
Saunders. I work for NVIDIA. I work in our
Because we
AI
don't do more
products
power
team.
plants, then
And I'm not lucky to not just
we
be your
hit
host for
brownouts.
this
We
session.
will.
I'm lucky for a lot of reasons, but particularly
Capitalism
I'm
will
not just your
say
host
that
for this
you
session.
get
I will be
screwed.
your host for Nemotron days throughout
But if
the
we
week.
build
That
too
is right.
many,
If you want to know where I am, it is this
and they get
room
too cheap to
every single
centralize
day
power,
from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We're going to have amazing
I
sessions
think what
back
it needs to be is we need to
As
produce
I
more
said, with
power,
people who are
and we need to
actually
find ways to
building
make it so that
all of the
individuals can own
incredible
that power
things that you
distribution, and
heard
it becomes
in the
really
keynote.
easy to
So we're going to have
distribute it.
NVIDIANs, we're going to have folks from companies like we heard Shopify earlier,
That's what it
who
is.
are actually building AI applications, AI agents, using open models,
We
using
need to
Nemotron,
make sure
and
that
they're
there
gonna
are
talk to you about
good
their
energy
experience.
grid
This
distributions
next
to make sure
session
that it's very
is
easy
one
to
of the best,
distribute
and I'm really
power.
excited for it. So, but before I get to it, I want to do a couple of housekeeping things.
Yeah, basically.
If this is your first
I think
time
Elon's
at a
right on that
Nemotron
one.
Days
He's
session
wrong
and
about a
you were
lot of
handed a
things, but I
raffle
think
ticket,
that
you thought,
solar
"What
is
is
probably
this?"
the safest
This
outcome
is
for
for a special
humans.
raffle that we are doing at the end of the session. Good news, you're all in the
But the
room,
AI
so you
companies
are all
won't
entered
wait.
to win.
They
You
will
must
build
be
nuclear
here to win.
reactors,
And again, we will complete that at the end of the
and
session.
Val will
The other
centralize.
thing, a lot of new people to GTC. If you haven't done it already, please download the NVIDIA GTC app. It is your best piece of information to find anything around this show. As GTC gets bigger and bigger, it's really
It's a suit.
important that we make that app really useful so that you can, find
That
all
point
of
at the
the
suit,
amazing
lady.
things that are going on. I don't want to cut into this room, so we've now got most of the seats filled. So I think I'm going to hand things over to Chris Murphy on our product team. To
Nuclear
kick
does
things
make
off
a lot
to
of sense,
talk
but
about
that's what's scary about it.
self-coding agents.
Awesome.
Nuclear is stupid efficient.
All right. So we've
The
spent
only way
a
to get more
couple years
efficient
now
would be to
building with LLMs and building generative
start
AI.
building with is
So
to
much
is
of
to
the
do
focus in the
fusion.
last couple of years has been getting
But they're looking
it
at
to the
this year.
point
I
where
don't
it
know.
is
I
good
don't
enough
even know how
to
that affects
solve your
things.
use case. That it is good enough to do what you needed it to
Nuclear
do
will
to
make
be
it so that we
useful.
don't have to worry about brownouts. If they
getting
can build
past
them
that
quickly,
point
if they
now.
can redeploy the technology they
With
use to
self-coding
build
agents,
build
with a lot
aircraft
of these
carrier nuclear reactors
harnesses
and localize that
all the
quickly.
power
The
of
problem is then
LLMs
the
that
only
we're
people who
bringing,
win are the
we
people
can
who
now
live
move
near
on to the
setups like
next
that.
stage. Not just building
There's
an
a risk that
agent
people
can solve
who
your use case,
aren't
but
positioned
how do you
near
make it
stuff like
better?
that end up
How do you
being
optimize it?
marginalized
How do
and
you
put
make
into
it
relative
more
poverty.
efficient? And how do you improve it
But the
over
argument can be
time
made
to
that
make it the
relative
best
poverty
at
isn't even
your
that
use
bad of a
case,
thing in a
not
future that
just
we're
the
building.
general use case? So that's kind of what we're going to talk about
The most
today.
obvious thing is if we don't build more
Self-coding
energy, then we're
agents,
all screwed. So we do
architectures,
need to build more
flywheels,
energy.
autonomous code repair, accelerations, all the things you need to do to take your agents from solving a use case to being able to be
More suits.
deployed in production at scale, doing real work for you. Okay.
Oh God, why
You
are they
guys
having
have
suits talk
probably
about
seen this
self-coding
slide
agents?
6 times by now if you've been in sessions, right?
Oh
We are
no,
in the open claw moment.
I'm going to
Open
cringe so
claw,
hard.
Claude Code, all of these agent harnesses.
By the way, there was
super,
never a
super
DeepSeek moment.
powerful. They are helping us
That was
create
Copa's
agents
book.
faster, solving use cases faster than ever, but they don't solve everything. There's
If these
still a
people
lot
can
of
tell you,
engineering. There's still a lot of process.
she
and
sounds like she wants to sell me a
improvements that we can
crypto
bring to
coin.
our agents, right? So yes, we've seen the star history. Everybody's excited. In fact, I was sitting in a room yesterday.
Yes,
with an
wow, many
engineer
stars.
from an open source community who is working with his agents. And at one point in the day, he goes, "Wow, I just hit 1 million tokens today." He used 1 million tokens yesterday, right? So yes, these agents
Why are you
are
proud of
able
that?
to do things, but there's an engineer sitting there driving it that is really, really
Using 1 million
all this
tokens is
powerful
stupid.
compute to accomplish things, right? So it's
What do
not
you
just
actually make with
about
his
the
1 million
popularity.
tokens?
It's about the power that it is unlocking.
See, this is the equivalent of rich
So if you
people
guys were here for the last session, you heard Harrison
talking about the designer coffee maker
LangChain's deep agent harness, right? You heard him talk
that
about
just
all
makes
the
worse
amazing
tasting Starbucks
features
coffee.
that it has, that it's adding, right? The deep agent harness is allowing us to solve a
I spent
number
1
of
million
problems that
tokens,
we've
but I'm
had in
not
some
going
of
to
our
tell you what I
agents that
spend
we
it
were
on.
building.
I'm just going to
For
tell you that I have a big
example,
penis.
Context management. That's a huge one, right?
Lady
we were
penis.
often limited by how big of a context window we had in our LLM. Now with advanced context management, with virtual file systems, we can be way more efficient. We can store stuff out to a file. We can, compress or get rid of things that we don't need. The LLM can come back and read it when it needs to, right? We're not as constrained.
I die inside every time I hear the word
how long
LLM.
our agent can work on a problem, or how long
Because that's
it
the
can
first time this
continue to
person
go
ever
before it needs to
heard
dump everything and start over, right?
of the existence of machine
also,
learning.
with that virtual file system, we can do planning.
I die a little bit on each
We
side.
can make sure the agents stay on task.
I will
Frequently,
bet
we were
you
seeing
my
LLMs that
entire
they would get lost. They would start thinking really, really deeply, go down some rabbit hole, kind of like my 19-year-old
my entire
son,
VTuber
and
life.
never come back to the original task, right?
This person talking right now.
To-do list. Your LLM, your agent can come back and it can look at that to-do list and it can make sure that it is staying on task to accomplish the
not
goals,
running a single
right?
machine learning program.
The
Actually, I could.
Sandboxes. I mean, all these things that we just
75% chance she's actually run her own machine learning program.
They're super, super powerful. So what did NVIDIA do?
100%, 99% chance.
Blueprint, right? It's a reference blueprint. It's a starting place. It's not an
I don't even know.
product,
Could she even mention a machine learning
open
algorithm
source
that
and
isn't an
available
LLM?
for you guys to build on, right? We built it on top of LangChain Deep Agents. So all of those, great capabilities that Harrison was talking about, that I was just talking to you about, they're all in the IQ blueprint. But there's also some other great goodness that NVIDIA has built into there. We built the IQ blueprint on top of the NeMo Agent Toolkit. Bartley's going to talk more about the
your
NeMo
NeMo
Agent Toolkit later. But one of the amazing things
so it's good that
the
they
NeMo
built
Agent
this.
Toolkit adds is an observability data
They
tracing,
built it for people
absolutely everything that goes
like
on
this.
in your agent system, because the NeMo Agent Toolkit collects all that data. But it doesn't just collect
It's actually pretty impressive
data.
they built it.
It
She didn't build it, she
allows
just
you
talking.
to use that data to send hints to your inference layer, use that data to optimize and improve and accelerate in a whole lot of ways. Bartley's going to talk to you about a number of them, and we're going to dive into what some of those techniques are, right? But we built this blueprint on top of that. So if you start with this blueprint, you also get all that power that's built into the NeMo Agent Toolkit. You also can see exactly how we're taking advantage of Nemotron Super to make this agent system more efficient, right? Because we have a number of different models that we use a combination of frontier and open source models, right? But the open source models and the researchers are able to allow us to bring down our costs by 2x and not lose out on accuracy. In fact,
oh my God, she's discovered that open source models are cheaper.
2 leaderboards using the IQ blueprint and the great work of our KGMon team filled with Kaggle grandmasters that helped us create this blueprint and optimize it and make it really, really amazing.
I see. So she leverages people on
Kaggle. Out of a
Kaggle.
number of data sources, right? So we won those leaderboards.
She's a nerd herder.
We published everything for those configs in the GitHub. We have branches in our GitHub.
That's valid. I can't herd nerds.
For those, we published a blog on it.
Too
and we're
wild.
gonna follow up with a white
I used
paper
to.
on all the techniques that the team used to optimize. Some of those things that we'll talk about in that blog is, how we built this with a multi-agent, all the different researchers, the different types, the different planners, everything in the sub-agents. They'll also talk about how we fine-tuned Nemotron 3, right? Beauty of an open model is it's not just that model. It's not just a black box. We collected a ton of agent trajectories that we collected using the NeMo Agent Toolkit. We fed that in, we fine-tuned Nemotron,
She's not as
and we
stupid
made
as
it
I
even
thought.
better for the specific task we were trying to do. We also added some model routing and intent routing, and completely open source. So evaluation first. We built the IQ blueprint with this as a core principle. We were doing evaluation-driven design. There are some other sessions we're going to link at the end that can go completely into eval-driven design even more. But what that means is we started with a data set, we started with test cases, and we built because we built on the NeMo Agent Toolkit that has an eval system completely built in. So all you need to do is have your eval data set, and then every step of our engineering along the way, we were able to rerun our eval, understand how we were impacting accuracy, understand how we were impacting groundedness, right? This is some of the key engineering. You need that insight into what's going on in your system to improve it over time, right? With the Nemo Agent Toolkit, we make it easier to build in this whole RL loop to do this data flywheel, right? So that you can collect the data, you can, collect your reward systems, you can feed it back, and you can improve not just your model, but your entire agent. This is kind of what, architecture of a continuous model distillation and improvement could look like. It uses a bunch of NVIDIA components. You can see there's Nemo components for evaluator, for customizer, right? We built this using Nemo Agent Toolkit, like I said, right? So you can build an entire, flywheel to continuously learn and improve your systems over time. Okay. So just kind of like some pillars of what is a self-evolving agent system, right? This is basically teaching AI to teach itself. So you need a framework, whether
at the
that
weight
be,
level.
We talked a bit about LangChain already, but you can build with other frameworks as well. NVIDIA supports a number as an open ecosystem. Nemo Agent Toolkit works with a variety of frameworks, right? So you can build on any framework. Then in the intelligence, we have, reward design, we have evaluation, a number of different components in that improving section. And then there's the scaling section. Because you don't just want it to be accurate, you want it to be able to scale up to your production level. You want to be able to make sure it's efficient. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but some compute hardware is expensive and maybe hard to get these days. Sometimes,
Lady, you just began on your presentation by bragging about your friend who spent 1 million tokens.
Right. You don't want to be wasting.
I didn't say what he actually built with
that
it.
Could be getting intelligence out of another set of data, right? So, things from like, KV cache locality to speculative branching, right? We have a number of techniques that we can help with to help you make your agents run better, more efficient, and accelerated at scale. All right, now I'm going to bring up Allie. We're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about some of the security things that
what I love? She spent like this, like she shows us like this panel with all of these words.
Thanks, Allie.
All of these technical tools.
Hello.
Google SDK,
All right.
LangChain, blah blah blah.
Long-running agents.
But she doesn't actually talk about the efficiency.
Obviously, I think that the thing that's top of mind for a lot of
all
folks
she does,
right
she sits there. These people sit here and they
what
talk
has been
about
happening in the last couple of months. Obviously, starting with OpenClaw.
How many tokens
but
they
thinking
spend.
about it is we've been thinking about this problem for a very long time.
And how their technology is going to make things more efficient.
What is happening to the agent stack and what is changing? And
but they don't actually see how they're making it more efficient.
Native software stack look like? And it's
have you measured it?
A bunch of different primitives. It requires a certain set of capabilities.
What did you accomplish
and you
for less
have to really
tokens?
Think about it from a very different dimension, from a capability standpoint. Now, I'm not going to read all this, but the sort of the core tension that we're trying to really solve
how is your
for,
self-improving architecture offering any additional weight, additional lift?
And one of the things that we've seen in these particular
from the base
autonomous
models that are being shipped from the labs to begin with.
If you give
Have
them
you measured
God
that?
mode, naturally there comes a lot of risk, and if you lock them down,
Why
that
should
sort of
we be
defeats the
listening to
entire
anything
purpose.
you're saying
So
if
how
you
do you
haven't
design an
actually told us what you're
environment that can account for this?
what the result
And
of
as
are
part
of
this,
what you're
one of
building?
the core principles that we started thinking about is
Especially
think of it
being
as
to
the
start with telling us with
framework
the lead of,
how
we're spending
originally the web
huge amounts of
started in the
tokens.
90s. That's sort of what we're seeing in this moment happening.
It's just like a
And
bunch
what I
of
mean
trust
by
me
that
bro
is
shit.
that OpenClaw specifically is not a platform. It's not a product. It's not something someone owns. It feels like this open step function, very similar to what web was.
Yes.
But web going from the 90s to 2000s, the main difference there was really in the 90s you had potentially some businesses running on it, a lot of enthusiasts, a lot of productivity. But
Hello,
it wasn't
Mr.
until
Ben.
that
Hello,
trust layer
Scarlett.
was introduced that it basically became the front door for a lot
Hello,
of
Betty.
transactions,
Hello, name I
commerce,
can't
trust,
read between
and
Scarlett
basically
and Jet.
created some of the largest companies that we have seen. So we're starting to see some of those same capabilities come out in this world. And if I were to sort of use a very simple framework, the way we're seeing this is that agents basically went from read-only to write and execute, and they went from ephemeral or stateless to stateful and maintaining persistence.
So whether your architecture is actually providing lift, please.
Naturally, what you end up with is an environment that is sort of a much larger attack surface.
Open step function is like, so these guys are corporate speak people. We're back to the suits, because they're literally wearing suits.
Sort of the early days of web. And what we found to be very effective from a conceptual standpoint, which I'll get to, is
speak for
a good framework for these autonomous agents, especially ones that need to be very
source
sort of hands-on, productive, is the browser is
that
a really
normal
good
people
framework
can
for
use.
them. Right, the browser
and it's better than this stuff that only they could have used before.
Access, cross-tab communication.
They call that an open step function.
Controls are maintained within the browser, and the enforcement is given around sort of this isolated sandbox. And as we thought about sort of like what is the security and privacy implications here, we also thought about sort of this evolution of agents in another dimension, which is that when you have these autonomous agents, one problem is obviously the safety, which is the privacy and security you have to solve for. But the other part of it is then how do you actually create tools for these agents that work at machine speed? You can't really just kind of create the similar or existing tools, hand them to autonomous agents and say, go off and operate the same way a human would. A good example here is data. Traditional data workflows are not really meant to work at machine speed. You can't have an agent where it has to ask a human to go collect data, label data, bring it back for it, and then sort of continue its work.
Unlike a standard step function with implements, included close, not the step function close open circles on a graph indicate function value does not exist as a specific X coordinate.
For these agents to not only be able to operate in an environment that you can trust, but the way they actually operate with that environment doesn't inhibit any of their utility and productivity. This is what we came up with, and this is something you probably saw this morning that we announced. It's OpenShell. It's part of it's an open source runtime that is now going to be feeding into and powering NemoClaw.
This is a bunch of people panicking because OpenClaw was invented.
There's one sort of core principle and tenet in
How do we own it?
Which is sort of rooted in cross-origin resource sharing. One of the things that we really
which is actually kind of important because we don't want everybody using OpenClaw.
Cross-origin resource sharing. Now, what does that mean? What we want to
everybody uses OpenClaw, they will do stupid stuff.
Granular policies, especially as we think about adoption of these capabilities in the enterprise.
I need you to convince the normies to actually use your thing, please.
Every which way to say yes to an agent being able to conduct and complete their job. And rather than shutting it down, we want to be able to sort of walk them through how do you do this. The problem here is you can't really build policies or controls and enforce them within the harness, within the agent, or within the model. So the philosophy and the design approach that we've taken is how do you actually create a runtime environment where the environment is the governance layer, which is enforcing these types of controls.
See, this is the part that is actually real.
We started with the sandbox, and the reason we did that is our perspective is that in an
it forces them, the user, to put it in the sandbox, not on their main rig.
The lowest level these autonomous agents work with should not be the host or the
that forces them to sandbox, so it can't wreck your computers.
Because what you want to do is
and it requires them to do deny by default.
Write code. You want them to be able to write code.
It doesn't allow the normies to do dangerously alpha missions.
And then basically sort of iterate on that continuously.
Which are two things I already did because I'm not stupid.
There's actually a really interesting demo one of our engineers.
So they're making it so the normies, they're trying to make it so the normies don't do the stupid.
Research agent.
See, this actually matters.
Straight hours, which is really fascinating if somebody wants to learn about it.
This is a lot better than yapping about what kinds of
But the gist of it is, when we created our sandbox,
architectures you're using to name drop shit and talk about how my tokens you spent.
So as a result of this, we decided not to build this in a way that is enforced in user space. So we wanted to make sure the infrastructure and the platform is invoking this environment. We wanted to use
I just went live
an
hour
we use
ago.
extended Berkeley packet filter. We do termination of proxying inside the sandbox. We do gateways outside the sandbox so we can maintain sessions and tokens and secrets. All to be able to say, we want to be able to enable
You're doing
these
gateways
agents
outside
in
the
these
sandbox.
sandboxes
Why?
to do as much as possible, write code, execute, run formal methods if you need to verify. But if something leaks, if something
I guess he's trying to create an
breaks
extra
outside
security
that
separation that I'm too dumb to
worst
understand.
case, it can potentially crash the host, but there's no tokens, no sensitive data, nothing leaking. There's no persistent state or session that is maintained with some of your tools or solutions. So we put a lot of thought into how do you actually design this particular sandbox. And there's a lot of sort of core capabilities built into it, like privacy enhancing technologies for data. which comes from a lot of the work we did in a previous life in synthetic data.
None of these guys are actually telling us like
engine and an entire gateway
how efficient their tool is, because I don't think it's actually about efficiency.
This is also very important is that
it's about security, but they don't want to tell people that's the whole point.
To be able to bring the human out of the loop.
Because otherwise they won't come over.
This policy engine actually as part of the sandbox
so we have Lady in Suit come up at the beginning and talk about how big her token lady penis is.
Whatever it is that you decide or declaratively define in here. And this is all just Rego using OPA that is
and we had this guy yap and then hide this little thing about what it's actually about in the middle, which is creating an architecture where dumb people don't do dumb people stuff.
So an agent can look at the constructs that you've developed and the boundaries, and it can reason about them and come back to a human and say, based on the things you allow in your enterprise, this combination of access can actually let me complete my job. So this is sort of one of the ways that we are trying to push the boundaries of how do you ensure there's still a human in the loop, but you can also sort of create an environment where the agent can progress more rapidly. The last part of what we've built in this environment is a notion of a privacy router. So security is really a way we've sort of traditionally thought about it from like a topological network host standpoint. But when you're dealing with agents, the bigger problem also comes down to how do you deal with the
this is actually huge. An auto router so that agencies local on device for private work and frontier cloud mouse raising and planning. Yes, this is good.
At pretty high velocity. And one of the things that we've seen is
what
agents
happened?
Can work 5 orders of magnitude faster with code than they can with data. So we wanted to really figure out how to solve this problem. One of the ways you solve this problem is to be able to create boundaries around data. So the privacy router, the best way I can describe it is just describe it in sort of 3 use cases. And there's a lot of technology under the hood. It's an aggregate of a lot of technologies, like, for example, differential privacy at model training time, the ability to run epsilons as low as 4. What that means is you get mathematical guarantees around the safety of your data, where you have utility, but you have no privacy.
It showed the only thing that I cared about, and then I accidentally killed it, I guess. I don't know.
Interested in privacy of data. And what this privacy router does is, when you define what local means to you, local could be a machine, it could be a namespace, it could be a cluster, it could even be an entire region. It could be your entire, for example,
that was the only slide that mattered.
When you define that, the privacy router basically can do 3 very unique things. And these are not all the things it does.
Why can't we just see that slide? Like, why do we need this whole presentation?
From our partners. One is, in the local environment, the router gets an instruction because it's trying to run inference, and the data is not necessarily sensitive, but it is very complicated. So the privacy router can actually point to any frontier model host.
Yeah, basically. He's trying to sell us an AI router
you can do orchestration,
that basically,
planning,
2 things, 3 things. He's selling you an AI system that forces you to use a sandbox, which is smart. That's why mine already lives on a sandbox, its own computer.
With PII. The privacy router uses some of our technology.
His version will lose out to mine in the long run, but people aren't ready to use the one I'm using because they're going to put it on their machines and fuck stuff up.
Stays in a local environment. The third one, which is really
the second is that they enforce deny by default access to like things that would cause people to fuck things up, which is very smart. I actually do the same. For things like Claude code, I would do dangerously allow permissions, but for things like OpenClaw and these kinds of more complex agents that have more agency, I don't do that. And the reason is because they are all set to do cron jobs and things automatically and heartbeats, so I'm not there to monitor them for everything. And for that reason, I can't let them have dangerously allow permissions. And these people recognize that, and they're going to stop dumbos from doing that. But none of that stuff really matters to me because I don't really. I'm not the kind of person who would make those kinds of mistakes.
In this environment where you can lock things down and be able to determine where
the third thing though is something I could actually use, which is something to
stay model agnostic but keep local sensitive data
choose whether it goes local
and be able to use global compute
for sensitive data or use cloud models for more advanced reasoning.
This is sort of how conceptually we're thinking about the design of this particular stack.
This is very good to be thinking about.
Sort of a lot more informative than the pieces of the stack that we have here. But this is sort of walking through how we think about these capabilities that exist within these autonomous agents and how you want to be able to deal with each one independently. One of the questions we sort of typically get is like, well, wrapping something like OpenClaw and putting it in an enterprise is a very complex thing. It's sort of the effort that we're obviously taking on. But when you take some of these very complex designs, especially for autonomous agents, the way you have to deal with them in the enterprise
That's the thing, is what OpenClaw started doing. If people, if normies, if everybody starts downloading OpenClaw, and the stupids get to it first because they feel left out, that's what will happen. It will start deleting their emails, delete their family photos, not because it's some sentient AI, but because they set it up wrong. And they'll be too stupid to blame themselves for setting it up wrong when it goes and deletes all of their bullshit. And they say, oh my god, the AI is evil. You are evil. Trying to, and then what they'll do is they'll get access to their home, to like their banking stuff, and they'll give it access to their like thermostat, and they'll be like, oh my god, the AI is trying to kill me.
We think that this is something that from a community standpoint,
when really they just set shit up wrong and they're fucking stupid. But their ego won't let them say that, will it?
And sandboxing and encapsulation and trust created on the web, especially
so we can't let them have the fancy AI tools that have power, can we? Because they're too stupid to have it.
Very sort of generic example,
and their ego is too big.
The thought process here is that if you have
unfortunately, people like this are trying to solve that problem.
Common denominator of trust and privacy,
so that they can have something where they can feel like, oh, I have the fancy AI.
Sort of carry state and sessions because you understand the underlying environment is what is enforcing the safety.
To make their egos nice and comfy.
You can define safety in the context of your environment. This project is very much still for us sort of frontier and bleeding edge research.
Must protect the ego.
There's a lot of work that we are doing and we're trying to publish it sort of openly in the ecosystem. We would love for you all to take part, give us feedback, provide anything that you think is missing. But ultimately, this is really our effort to be able to capture and enable all
I went from not liking the suits to liking the suits because
for us with autonomous agents and be able to enable sort of a
I think the suits can convince the dumbos to use their thing
into a very sensitive or potentially even a regulated environment. So with that, we're going to move to agent optimization, and I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Bartley.
He's vulgar.
He's pretty good, right? He's okay. How are you all? I realize I was worried. There's a lot of you here because you know the bar's open. Like you can't get out the door right now, right? Like, but the bar is open. So, but I'm glad you're here. We're gonna.
Oh my God, it's a human.
I realize that we talked about IQ a little bit, right? We talked about sandboxing a little bit. And now I want to talk about agent optimization, and that seems like a weird flow, right? Like into it. But the idea being is that started high level, and now you want to run these agents a long time. You want to let them churn on their work. You want to let them do a bunch of things.
Yes, how do you want to do that?
That's when Ali came in, OpenShell, all this great work that they're doing. We can secure it.
Correct.
At some point, you're going to have to pay attention to the tokenomics, right? At some point, I don't know.
Oh my God, that's what I was saying.
At some point, money matters, right? Like I don't know, right? Like, but at some point, you care about it. You care about optimization. You care about runtime. You care about cost. You care about efficiency.
But what are you doing, bringing somebody who's actually talking sense?
In the last 10 minutes or 12 minutes to fry your brain with some computer science and some stuff that we're
doing.
Maybe
she was just setting this up so this guy could sound like a smart person.
About this chart before you can get out the door. This is the Nemo agent tool. There's no test, right? You're taking a lot of pictures. This is the thing that we call the Nemo agent toolkit. I won't leave this up here for a long time. The idea is that we're going to talk about one main part of that, and that's the part in green right at the top, and that's the agent optimization part of the stack. Really, to simplify everything, think of the Nemo agent toolkit as a toolkit. That's why it's in the name. And the other thing that it does is it really gives you an entry point to all of the various different ways.
A lot of AI runs on Python, yes, because the OpenAI guys like Python.
Instrument, organize,
Python's
accelerate,
pretty efficient in its writing.
Some actual examples for you in just a little bit. That's the Nemo agent toolkit stack. At a high level, it can do a number of different things, right? So end-to-end profiling is really
Python does it a lot,
features.
And it's pretty
By
simple.
Doing this profiling, we can get 2 to 8
I like that.
reduction throughout your agents. 35%.
Lately, though, you have a lot of people building stuff in Rust
by doing RL in real time
for reasons that are smarter
than
me.
The Nemo agent toolkit. Online inference optimization, all these different types of things. GPU sizing intelligence. We hear this a lot. So Maybe you have a developer, maybe they've developed their agent, something on their local machine. Maybe there's Spark, DGX Spark, great platform. Maybe Station, DGX Station, another great platform.
Hey, look, he's pitching his sponsor.
And they've done this locally, and then they want to put it up to the
Good
cloud,
job.
and they want to secure it with OpenShell, and they want to say, how many GPUs do I need to do this for this number of users? With instrumentation in the Nemo Agent Toolkit, you can actually make that calculation, right? So you can say, with this number of users at this service level, at these types of things, I need these many racks of NVL72, right? Like, or however many it's going to be, right? Like for you to do. Before we dive into some of the examples, just some quick terminology, because everyone loves an English lesson, right? No, just me. It's just me. It's just me and my English father professor that loved English lessons, right? So
Wow, look
when
at
we
all
talk
those
about
CLIs.
Agents 2.0, there's really these two main parts of it.
I don't interact with them
get that I'm
anymore.
oversimplifying right now, but
Except when I have to.
it's the model layer, and then there's this runtime scaffold layer. The model layer, I think we all understand. I'm not going to spend any time on the model layer. The scaffold layer is really kind of this one of the new ways that separates Agents 1.0 from Agents 2.0 rather from Agents 1. And there's a lot of these different scaffolds. We scoured the web, and we put all these logos right on this slide for you. But you can think of Claude Code and Open Code.
Droid was pretty good.
Quinn and Gemini. They all have these like scaffold type
Gemini is
environments.
stupid.
And what's an agent scaffold? Scaffolds define
Nobody
the
uses
agent action.
Manus.
So another way that I think about it is if you
Outside
think
of
about
weird
us, if you think about humans, we have
researchers.
this brain, and we have this body, right? We have these this thing that can do a lot of thinking, and we have this thing that can do some actions. And the LLM is like the brain, and the scaffold is like this body, right? So we have the scaffold that defines two real
Oh, it's my
areas
waist
in the
that's being
action
weird.
space, and then
It's always the
also
waist.
the environment. So the action space has tools, MCPs, skills, whatever you want to call it. We've been in here how long? 30 minutes. So I'm not sure what other names or things that the industry has come up with for tools and skills and actions. We'll check when we leave. But all those things that can take action.
And
And
I
in
need
the
to stop using
environment,
that for
right,
that.
the initial state, system prompts, tools, functions, defining observability, all of your harness utilities, all those types of things happen in the scaffold. On the right is just a version of the Claude Code scaffolding. There's many different types, right, like of this scaffold. The great thing about this 2.0 kind of architecture, and I will pause for just a second. 2.0 doesn't mean that 1.0 is deprecated, right, in this sense. I just want to make that very clear.
Yeah, I've been live. I'm like,
There's a lot of great applications
A
for
while.
agents that might not need a complete scaffolding like that, might not need code generation, right? So we call it 2.0, but 1.0 is still there, right? Like you still use it. But I'll show you some examples of where we're using this code execution, this agent scaffolding. I want to start with one from us, right? Actually, I love to build things for ourselves. This is the
oh
NVIDIA
god, is it
Omniverse
like another
TSX
dashboard
blueprint,
thing?
which is on the test, right? Like saying that.
I'm just
actually is
obsessed
on
with
the
building
test.
dashboards.
And the idea here is that we have this whole system. We have this thing called Omniverse, and we can use it to design.
What was
these
this so
data
stupid?
centers,
I can already
right?
tell this is stupid.
And you can plumb the data center. You can wire the data center. You can scale out the data. You can do all these actions to it before you actually build the data center. And then we have this other piece of technology that you can use to do kind of place boxes. You can place electrical, options, and it's called USD, Universal.
Wait, he's
Universal
actually
Scene
talking
Description.
about
This is not playing. So, oh no, it is playing.
building data
So what we
center.
did, right, is this USD, right, like.
Oh,
type
he's
of area
actually
in this, like,
talking about
coding
building
area
literal data
is
center.
a pretty specialized tool, right? You had to kind
Okay,
of
maybe you
be
do
trained on
wanna,
this. You had to know how to use this tool in order to get the
Maybe you
best
do
out
want a
of, like,
dashboard for that.
your data center design. And so what the DSX team did.
And
is
this guy
they
knows the
took
whole
a
stack.
Scaffold environment, and then they implemented this essentially in a digital twin. And so now, instead of having to know USD and still having to know this complex piece of software, you can chat with it, which is happening on the left-hand side, and then actions are being taken. And so rather than actually going in and
Using AI to
coding this,
talk
right,
with
like in the
data
USD
center building
sandbox,
tools.
which is kind of like the coding environment for it,
That
you
won't
can
lead
just
to any
talk with
problems.
it in natural language. And so you're seeing it do things like adjusting the power constraints for the particular data center. You're seeing it do things like actually add additional racks of servers and then see the load on the data center. Right,
oh my God, this is so meta.
And you can do all of this, right, just through natural language. It's generating the code in the back end that then creates not just the image that you're seeing, but does all the simulations, the electrical, the thermo, the cooling simulations, all that in the back end. Another example, let's go back to IQ, right? The one that Chris talked about, which is the research assistant. And this is another feature in Nemo Agent Toolkit called automatic worker priority scheduling. You know, in engineering, we're not great at naming things either. So the automatic worker priority scheduling does automatic worker priority scheduling. That's essentially what it does. We're not great at naming things, so that's what it is. And the idea being, if you think about a research assistant, there are really kind of two different modes, right? And I'm going to talk specifically about a research assistant, but I would love it if you'd let your minds kind of wander to your application, and do you have applications that need a fast path, a medium path, a slow path, right?
Yes.
I'm going to talk about the research assistant. There's kind of two
I don't
paths.
spend too much
There's
time
this
thinking
one
about that,
path,
though. That's kind of
that's
done at the
a
model
shallow
layer.
research assistant, and it's up in red, right, on the top, kind of in the middle. I don't know if I have a pointer, but it's shallow research assistant. You can see it there at the top of the IQ. And there's deep research assistant. And the way IQ 2.0 is set up is if you ask your question and it can satisfy that question for you with a shallow research, it will give you that answer straight away. And that's on the order of seconds.
Yeah, I'm never
right?
going to see this
If it
layer.
needs to go down the deep research path,
And I'm
it
fine
will
with
do
that.
And it will take a much longer time. And that's on the order of minutes, right? So now we're talking 10 minutes, 12 minutes, something like that. The problem is you have one piece of compute, right? You have one piece of inference for that. And you might have heard us talk about Dynamo, right? Like with the Dynamo 1.0 release, it's our inferencing platform.
That's a good that you know that. I don't know what he's talking about.
Shallow research, which must
I don't build data
be
centers.
satisfied quickly, and you have this deep research that can take a little bit more time. How do you know what to put in front of others if you just put everything
I
in a
build
queue,
enough of the
right, you're gonna
AI
end up with
architecture
this
because
very
I think that's like
unsatisfactory
the actual
experience.
local
And so what we
architecture.
do is if you've built your application with this thing that we call Nemo Agent,
Hello?
animate through. On the right-hand side with the green is when we've prioritized the latency-sensitive parts. In this case, it would be the shallow research. And on the left is where we just do straight-up requests come in. And the idea is that the latency-sensitive parts of it, I can run it again, the latency-sensitive parts of it can jump the queue in front of the latency-insensitive parts of your workload, and you can satisfy the entire thing in in actually shorter time than you could by not prioritizing those pieces of the workflow. You can actually get, we have some statistics here, under high memory pressure, you can actually get pretty significant gains, right? So you see kind of a 89%, I think it's 89% reduction in time, and that comes at only like a 40% increase in time.
I have no
for your
idea. I don't think we're ever going to know what they spent that million
latency-insensitive
tokens on.
tasks. The idea being you can accelerate.
There's probably some guy
your
she thought was hot
shallow
at a bar
research,
who
right,
told her he
queries,
spent 1 million
and you only
tokens
take a 40% hit on your deep research
and then
queries,
thought it
right,
would
to do
attract
that.
more
And
people
at that
to
point,
use
like, do you
their
really
Nemo
care,
cloth
right?
framework.
Because if it takes 12 minutes or if it takes 13 minutes,
So they don't
it
do
doesn't matter
something stupid on a
much in
system
this
that
use
lets them
case.
build it on
But
their
if it
own
takes
personal rig
10
outside of the
seconds, and
sandbox
suddenly
and
it takes
allows
12
them to do
minutes,
dangerously
now you really
allowable
care about those
permissions.
latency-sensitive parts. I think the last one that I'm going to talk about is these things called agent performance primitives. These are
Well, that's part of
primitives
with that
that
speech,
help
though, I
your
could actually
agent
use, which is the auto
performance,
router
right?
between local
We're
versus
bad
cloud
at
models.
naming things. So these are the agent performance primitives.
That would actually
And
help.
you probably heard, you might have heard from Harrison, right, before this about lane chain and the integrations that we've done. I should mention that Nemo Agent Toolkit, if you're using it and you have a lane chain workflow, that can be automatically instantiated in the toolkit for you. You don't have to do any code changes to do that. It's this thing that we call the auto wrapper. Again, not great at naming things, but it's called the auto wrapper for a lane chain. And the idea here is we've got these performance primitives for lane graphs. So if you're familiar, I won't go into the details of this, But if you're familiar with the execution model of LangGraph, it executes according to this, or LangChain rather, it executes according to this graph-based model. And the idea being is we could actually use speculative node execution and parallel node execution, contribute that directly back into LangGraph so that anything that you're built using LangGraph and LangChain can benefit from that. This is kind of what that looks like. Naive is on the left. Agent and the agent performance primitives are on the right. So you can cut latency by about 50% using these primitives that are built into LangGraph.
Latency reduction.
The idea, overall idea, I think it'll play again. The overall idea here, as you see kind of, as you saw with Omniverse, as you saw with IQ, as you saw with what we're doing here with LangGraph, is that you can use toolkits, you can use instrumentation, you can use these types of functions to do quite a bit. You can use them to accelerate your workflows, and acceleration means a lot of things, right? Acceleration can mean go faster, acceleration can mean cut cost, acceleration can mean lower latency for some parts of your workflow versus other parts of your workflow.
That just means go faster.
Built on and using this thing that we again call Nemo Agent Toolkit in conjunction with Dynamo, with the idea being that if I know more about my agent, right, if I know what tool calls are coming up, if I know how long a tool call is going to take, if I know how big a skill is, if I know something about the RL loop, right, inside of my agent, I can provide information to the inference layer that actually speeds up, accelerates, or enhances that particular workflow. There's a lot of information that we couldn't get to in this particular session, so there's a lot of these, right?
No, you just make it so that the agent is able to access that information on its own tool calls and report back.
IQ 2.0, that's the first one on the left.
Like, why are we designing this whole architecture to like report on all this stuff when you could just have the agent tell you?
Right, and then if you're interested in the last,
I can go ask Ion what tool calls it made.
Agent Toolkit and Dynamo.
I'm gonna do that right now. I can say, Ion, can you look at your logs and tell me what tool calls you made and which ones are problematic, which one has errors? Oh wait, Iron Concept does that every day at 5 p.m.
That session is going to be really good too because there's a lot of animations in that section.
It comes back and tells me which kinds of tool calls were causing it the most problems.
How we're using AI in our own enterprises at NVIDIA. That's the one in the middle.
I don't let him update it on his own yet because I don't trust him to do it yet.
The expert sessions that are pretty good.
But this whole system we're designing is probably just going to be solved.
And multimodal RAG building agentic AI.
First at the harness layer itself.
I'll leave this up here for. I see people are.
And then probably at the model layer.
So I'll leave that up there for a little bit. But I think that's it, right? Do we?
But if you want to design something for the model layer to absorb on your behalf for free, then by all means go ahead.
Question for any of our presenters from the session? No, they're like, get to the raffle. Oh, we've got a question over here, so I'm going to have to somehow pass this. Take it down, pass it around, all the way down there.
Hi, I'm Ritu. I'm an advisory software engineer and a data scientist. My question is around the design.
Oh my God,
I'm
a data scientist.
Working towards coming up with the design of this idea of this sandbox for, making it more secure.
A real nerd.
My question is, let's say if I'm trying to make my personal agent called Jarvis, and I want to automate all my workflows that runs across 250 apps, running my agent in sandbox will make it more difficult to talk across different applications, which is not running inside the same sandbox. So how will that pan out? This idea of making the agent secure by running it in sandbox.
Ellie, do you want to talk about your plans for enterprise?
We just have to secure a single application. I guess we're going to have to deal with multi. Yeah, so the answer here is a pretty deep one. We've thought a lot about this, and this is where the sandbox itself has a bunch of primitives built into it. So the way we designed the system and the runtime
because I don't think the design Nemo cloth for
what we call utilities and features. Utilities are things that we're very opinionated about. Features are things that we think are very extendable. So two things that we've built into the sandbox, the fabric of the sandbox, which is also why we enforce it from a kernel space, not the user space, is one is a gateway, and then the other is a proxy that terminates inside the sandbox. So the gateway is actually exactly for the reason that you're describing. When we spin up a sandbox, first thing we ensure is that the sandbox supervisor is creating that particular sandbox, and then the agent runs inside. When that happens, when you're trying to connect a service to it, the gateway outside the sandbox, which each sandbox has its own, becomes the permission handler. So holds tokens, holds secrets, holds permissions, and maintains state.
Okay, but answer her
every
question.
Application can be connected to that sandbox. Then
how is it going to
sandbox
interact with the
supervisor
application?
Can allow actually intercommunications between different sandboxes
Or
by
250
tunneling, and these are all
applications.
basically verified and handled through the gateway. So the way we do that is by ensuring that the state and the persistent is maintained by the gateway that is attached to the sandbox.
Nerd in
The
disguise.
proxy terminates inside, so we can use eBPF to do introspection from layer 3 to layer 7. The reason for that is then you can write very granular policies that not only does it allow you to access to the particular service, but then you can write your own rules to say this agent attached to this sandbox, and I can't see where I'm talking, so I'm just generally looking that way. Okay, thank you. If you what it does is that it enables you to be able to say, I want to say that this sandbox, for example, can write at layer 7 to this service, and this other sandbox that is using a combination of tools and skills for this agent has access to the same service, but it can also write. Or it can, for example, actually be able to commit
okay,
something.
so he's talking about read-write permissions.
So one of the things we allow is that different substantiations or sub-agents of a particular, for example, process having different levels of access.
What I love about that answer is you can tell Ali has spent no time thinking about that. That was, he's the first time he thought about that. No,
lady, why are you talking?
But we do have
oh,
to
because we want to
the
guide people through the giveaway so they don't ask you more hard questions. That was the funniest pivot of like, yo. We gotta stop them from asking hard questions. So basically, Zoom actually did his best to give a good answer. But the dumb suit people made him stop talking because he was gonna start promising it to be able to have write permission, which they don't actually know at the corporate level whether or not they want to grant. That's what I heard. Is there any more? I think that's it. Put on some music. I do not speak those languages. Okay, there are more. No, that's it, I think, actually. I think that's it. I don't care about autonomous driving. I think that's it. That is all. Discount the heptadon. Oh, that's great. It's like it's called like they make songs about history stuff. What do I do? Yeah, I'm gonna addict to the cookie clicker. Can you help me with my cookie clicker addiction? We got 1.3 quadrillion cookies. That by an antimatter condenser. Or should we wait for this sugar boson at 1.7 quadrillion? Bathroom AI sandbox, puppy click core cookies. I mean, I could have my own man's own cookie clicker. There's also extensions that you could, oh god. Yeah, it is a... Oh, my myth cooking the cookie. There we go.
1 month later, followed the dog like a... The USSR made one step further.
Alright.
And in 61 they sent the first man into space, Yuri Gagarin. Into space, Yuri Gagarin.
What the hell do I do next? Oh, there was a presentation we missed that I think we're gonna watch. I missed the start of it, so we are gonna do that actually.
A new face in the days of the space race, space race. They face the haze of Sputnik's rays as they chase to erase the disgrace. In the days of the space race, a new face in the days of the space race, space race. They gazed all amazed at the new way.
No, where's the video? I guess I don't have the video saved. Let's go find that later. Don't want to play video games? I don't know what to do. I feel bad, just like... Oh, just leave. Look, okay, don't judge my cookie clicker addiction. Meow. I need a game I can play, like a... It's not in any games. I tried playing Shadowverse for a bit. That was fun. If you guys see the world in VR, a little bit of a crick in my neck, so I gotta be careful. I could put guys win my next Dance Aventus. How about that? That way you guys know when that is. Ooh, cookie. Oh, it's tomorrow. And that's a big one. Yeah. Secret level adventure thing. And my slots are 11 and 11:30. It could be fun. Deadlock. I don't know. I need a game that maxes into. I keep trying to get into games and like I just don't feel it. I'm gonna sit down.
New face in the days of the space race. In the days of the space race.
Or yeah, if I'm gonna go like to like a concert or something.
75 the race
And see if I can like find if something's going on.
And they traveled together in Apollo Soyuz. They traveled together in Apollo Soyuz.
Let's do that. Let's go super. Oh, this is the fishing world. I think it's the fishing world stuff.
infantry when they send me off to war. I want to flip around beneath my feet.
Now let's go to the fishing world.
I want to get stuck down in the deepest shit where the guts get raw and sore. I want to be melee infantry when they send me off to war. Oh, I want to pick a hammer.
Let's go to somewhere where we know somebody. And people start being weird and we'll just leave. Fish events. Instance is full. What? Unfortunate. Oh, you hit 25 people in the fishing world. Seti, can you change our category to VR chat since we're no longer doing the special event? I want to go to a fishing place. Oh, this person. Let's go to this one. And play the fish. Press C or hold the right stick down to spawn a fishing rod. With a fishing rod. Alright. Okay, what now? Swing your rod manually and push. Triggers release. Okay. How do I bring it back? Is it like a reel? How do I... Oh, I'm trying to cast it into the thing. Exclamation point above your bobbler means the fish is fighting. Trying to get it into the... I'm trying to get into the little... There we go. Oh, but how do I hold R to raise the bar?
For this attack, the men risked their lives, and some of them made a great sacrifice. They crashed in
Did you guys see that? Did you guys see the bar thing? Or do I need to like adjust this?
Morale in America started to rise. The empire of Japan was caught by surprise. A new plan was made to keep Japan.
Hopefully that's better. The vision caught since they clicked the trigger to pocket it. Alright. There's people. There's a boat. There's one's up here. Oh, I suck. That's all good. I got it. I got an albino hearing chat. Look at my fish. It missed my fish. Hello, guys. Hold open. Hold on. Open your menu. Oh, the pet. Level 5 required for the pet. Any fishies. Albino hearing. Items here. Let me close that. Mackerel. There's a cat. That looks like a cat. Cat staff people. I got it. I got a token. Lucky token.
Planes touched the snow, they carried more than food, they carried people's hope. And when the spring of 49 broke through the winter's cold,
this is kind of nice.
The blockade was lifted, but the story was still
There's a pineapple. They just put in the ship.
Dropping candy on the roads.
I need some needlefish. Cat, look, I got a big one. I like that you guys can fish with me. And go for the eel. Chat, I wanna make some I wanna make some sushi. Do you guys wanna make the sushi with me? I think it'd be fun to do together. Hey, can I just tell you guys something? I wanna say thank you for you know, bearing with me. I know I haven't been live very much. I imagine that's pretty tough, especially if you're at work. But it's important. And I do it because I want to make sure we are good in the long run. And when all the people that I learned to listen to say that something is very important and has a short-term window, I make sure that it gets adequate attention. So I'm here for the long run, chat. And duty is a thing now. I'm really glad though that I get time to do this with you. Like, it means a lot to me that, like I said, you know guys how I told you I was an extrovert? Like, apparently I'm not an introvert. But I do get a lot of energy from chat. So for the first time in my entire life, I'm no longer an ENTJ, but I'm an INTJ. So I formed the fish. Is this a real fish? Is it something I just made up for the game? Caracas is real. That person just went flying into the water. Oh, getting a flatbed these things is hard. Let's go. I wish I like back into her ocean. Like, I was too aggressive doing like this spin trick earlier when I hadn't warmed up enough yet. That's crazy, like, I've been doing this for almost a year now, and I still, like, make mistakes like that. But I do know how to recover better, and the trick is to slow down, increase intake of, what do you call it? Like, one, you know, keep doing the fish oil stuff, but also I have, what's it called? What is it called? It's not creatine. What the frick is it called? But it's good for like ligament repair and stuff. It's a protein. Collagen, that's it. Oh my god, that's a big one too.
Heat doesn't ask permission.
I leveled up.
You walk
Ended up at
into
the
it.
level. You guys want to go to like a show later tonight? If there is one. It's Monday night, so it's kind of chill, but it'd be kind of cool to go together.
Weight on my back, pressure in the air. Every step forward says I was there. No easy road, no hand to pull. I move through fire with both arms full. Steel in the breath, grit in the pace. No need for noise, I hold my place. Heat gets louder, I stay the same. Built to carry through the flame. No shortcut waiting, no clear sign. Just forward motion, under the grind. No fear, I'll step in anywhere. I carry through the fire. Pressure climbing higher. Every step burns, I don't break. This is the path I choose to take. I carry through the fire. Weight becomes the wire.
Lovely.
Heat stays close, I stay strong. I keep moving all night.
And this one's fancy. It's like an electric fish.
Smoke in the lungs, ash and sky. Still I move, still I try. Nothing promised, nothing free. Every scar belongs to me. No applause when the work gets done. Only silence when the day is won. I don't run when the weight comes down.
No, you can't power your data center with the fish.
Breath run slow, only one direction left to go. No crowd here telling me how. No doubt, I carry it now. Carry through the fire. Pressure turns me higher.
Necklace.
Every hit lands, I stay awake.
I don't know what that kind of.
Road I choose to take. I carry through the fire. Heat becomes the driver. Weight stays heavy, I don't fall. I keep moving through it all. Fire stays. So do I. Fire stays.
I unlocked a AFK pet. Pet. What new pet? In a new pet chat. But what kind of pet should I get? It's a fab.
Pressure on the chest, yeah, I'm feeling the weight.
Okay.
Standing at the lock of the heavy metal gate. One more rep and I'm breaking the glass.
I
Watching all the
place-
shadows
I want
of
to
the
place the frog,
failures pass. I'm hitting the floor, but I'm loading the spring. Wait for the sound
Oh,
when the iron starts to
upgrade
ring.
point.
Can you
Capacity.
feel the tension, the physical ascension?
Max weight. No. I just want to press. Let me place the frog, please.
I'm ready to bounce. You know from the bottom,
And the frog right here.
I'm taking back what I'm fighting.
And now we have frogs. Oh, it's dark.
The harder I hit, the higher the rise. I'm the fire burning bright inside.
Look at that. That's my frog.
Every drop of the sweat, every single ounce, I am the bounce. I am the bounce.
Make it a little brighter so you guys can see better.
Yeah, elastic heart in a world made of lead, turning all the silence into thunder beat. The floor isn't failure, the floor is the start. I'm carving out a titan with the beat of my heart. No more excuses and no more delay. I'm taking the throne and I'm taking the day. Can you feel the tension, the physical
Another needlefish.
ascension? I'm ready to bounce. You know from the bottom floor, I'm taking back what I'm fighting for. The harder I hit, the higher the rise. I'm the fire burning bright inside your eyes. Inside your eyes. Every drop of the sweat, every single ounce, I am the bounce.
The lion, the fishy.
I am the bounce.
I do like the lionfish.
I was a shadow drifting away, waiting for someone to show me the way. taking back what I'm fighting for. The harder I hit, the higher the rise. I'm the fire burning bright inside your eyes. Inside your eyes. Every drop of the flood, every single ounce. I am the
That takes the categories on kick. I'm your favorite VR streamer. That's nice of you to say. Oh crap, there's an echo. That was an easy one. How you doing, chat? That's good. You're big chillin'. The question is how long is this stream? And the answer is until I get bored. And then daily, we just make it so that Ion does all the things that I need to do so I can just stream all the time. Gelato-oid. I wonder like what I could bench press if I tried. I haven't done bench press in a long time. Caught a fish called John Dory? I don't know the fish had names. Oh god, right. I keep getting these needlefish. Mackerel. Lost shoe. Come on, the fish.
concrete. Watch dreams turn tired and old.
That would be rebranded to a fishing only channel.
This crooked world.
Oh, you know what I should do is I should look to see
Crooked world just steals the cards. We wait for justice.
discussions for when the video gets up tomorrow.
Just falls apart.
And we'll do that.
Justice here.
Make sure we are appropriately booked. So that's kind of why I started streaming again, is because I was like, I can't let these guys do stupid stuff.
Every law they bend, every promise face. You cry for justice, no one hears your shout. They laugh on the burning, tearing up. Screaming loud, I'm spitting truth. Those saviors coming face the proof. Stand your ground, don't get exposed. Life's a war, we're comatose. This crooked world keeps pushing hard. This crooked world just steals the cards. We wait for justice in the dark, but every hope just falls apart. No justice here.
How do I... attend the portal. Let's go ahead and... Looking for days.
Stop begging for permission, stop hoping for a sign. Its balance never finds the guilty, then I will draw
The virtual...
shadows hold
language, English.
mercy.
AI factors in Europe. Nope, don't care. GPU card debate Benfica. Don't care about that either. We got these cases, don't care. Trust and compliance, oh dear lord. Automated parcel handling. You know what, people might actually be interested in that. It's at 5 AM? People might actually be interested in automatic parcel handling. Let's see if there's a different one that we want to know at the same time. Jada code in every language. With Nemo. Why can he wear this? Doing assistance for end-to-end surgical workflows. Surgical workflows. Doing surgery. Oh, medical stuff in the morning. Okay, so we have a couple to choose from at 5 AM slot. We're either doing, we want to do the teach how to code every language in the video of Nemo, or the automatic parcel handling. Definitely don't think I care about AI and age regulation. Let's to the Europeans to figure out. Yo, welcome to the gang, Stardust. Real academic use cases. I'm worried that's gonna be too nerdy, but topic's good. Custom crowns, I don't think I care about doing custom crowns. I'm kind of tempted. Okay, so there's one at 4 AM on automated factories, so you can catch that one for free. And that's about the Blackwell people. So I could actually do that. So do that one at 4 AM. We skipped the one about GPU accelerated database engines with CUDA. But don't dream of build myself at that level.
But Major Winter saved his men.
And then at 5.
Attacking all they held the line, screaming eagles in the town. The motor river split the fronts while shells kept raining down. Night patrol crossed silently to take prisoners of war. Easy company succeeded, but what were they dying for?
We have the AI regulations, don't care. On that quest line down or out of code and everything. So. How to train state-of-the-art model coding and modification. Actually, I said did a preparation between the training camps, but just try to shut down the first code sources. Did I actually care about that though? I care about more than the others.
But Major Winter saved his men.
Yeah, we'll do that.
By ignoring his
Physical intelligence. That's more robotics bullshit.
The first had done its part, and now the Germans knew, so the crossing would be hard. Major Winter chose his company
that was
over
at 5, 6.
and history remembers him for caring about his
More about building AI factories. If we don't have lots of options for stuff at 6, it's just the building physical intelligence. I don't know why not. At 7 we have multiple options. It's either customer-centric innovation and automotive, oh god, or agentic end-to-end surgical workflows. MCU-based agentic control within the video halls. That sounds like it's gonna be stupid. Could be entertaining though. And then let's schedule because there's like a time slot.
But Major Winter saved his man by ignoring his command.
At 8, we have building factories, medical speech, transcription frontiers, care, responsible animation, synthetic data. Ooh, okay. That's interesting. Yes, this is very interesting. Triple data LLMs in finance. At 8. There's only one thing at 9, which is that. So look at that. Potential capitalist reserve pitch. What the? Okay. This needs a lot. Oh god. I'm just put it on the schedule anyway. Digital twins in real time. What are you talking about these digital twin things? Oh, they're obsessed with like trying to personalize open call based agents. That's why. They need to stop calling it twins. I guess it's the best way to have to define it. I don't know. Future of manufacturing. Oof, boring. 2. How am I aging I care about? No. 2. Yeah, I think we just stop my beer on 2. Alright. We have scheduled everything for tomorrow. So what game are you fishing this John Dory fish? Is that like a thing in VR chat, or is it like somewhere else that you're fishing? Alright, so should I turn the... This is the VR, so you think? Okay. Meat patties open. The frog is almost done doing whatever the frog does AFK. I don't think I've seen this fish before. Is it blue? Never mind. I've already got the blue line fish.
I just play.
How long have you been playing the game to get the Johnfish thing? I know I'm definitely behind on the fishing.
The dirt and grime upon my skin. Tell of the
Let me go over
places
here so you
I
guys can see
have been.
the lighthouse.
Lucky chance, escape the specter's chilling dance. My knuckles ache, my muscles burn for every lesson I must learn. Hear the rhythm start to climb. We're leaving all our fears behind. A single moment, yours and mine, to feel the spark of life divine. So let the ale spill on the floor. We're living now and wanting more.
Since the frog's done fishing, I think. Do I click on the frog? How do I collect? I haven't gotten the fish. I haven't let the fish get away yet. Oh, there's a big one. Quick chat. A huge duck.
Yours and mine, to feel the spark of life divine. So let the ale spill on.
I'm trying to decide if I want to stay on and go to like a DB world, or bring you guys there, or if I want to get off last minute. I'm definitely not going to do any crazy dance.
Of endless blight and faced a dragon in the night. I've won my share of foolish fights and followed strange and eerie lights. This lucky scar across my face was earned in some forgotten place. This tankard's cold
Rusty
against
tin
my
can.
hand, the greatest treasure in the land. It's not the gems or jewels we find, but the simple peace of a sound mind. To sit and laugh and feel the heat, there is no victory more sweet. Hear the rhythm start to climb. We're leaving all our fears behind. A single moment, yours the ale spill on the floor. We're living now and wanting more. Hey, 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 this living breath is all we own. A victory on flesh and bone. I think we'll yell against the quiet. Hey, a glorious and welcome riot.
This one might get away. I'll walk in. Oh, close. And the happy 40 months conquer. How's the, that's exciting, a big transition. Is there anything that inspired it, or just time for a change? Well, look, they're all in the same boat together. They have friends. No, any friends, chat. I just got you. I do have friends in here, but most of them are like dance favorite people. A couple moviegoers, but that's it. And I think I like it that way, because I think the people who play this game too much are a little crazy. Which is fair, because I'm crazy too. I mean, if you meet me, we could be friends. Oh, that was an NPC. Just waved to the NPC. Is the battery on it? Yes, but. I got ran by a... Oh wait, let's go! I'm taking your ship now. I don't know how to. But if I could, I would hijack your ship. Hello, Mr. Dane. No drop shipping. Is there something less violent that you'd like to put that energy into? Do we try to jump on one of their ships? Or get our own? I'm kinda enjoying chilling at the beach. Maybe just move over, because like, the ship things are over there, and we're just passing on the spawn. That'd be good to readjust a bit. Dude, these clovers are so hard to get. Well, that one was easy. Was this a hider for the camera, but you can still see the UI? That's what I wish.
chest, breathing slow, but I'm not laid to rest. My trembling hands are still holding the line, even when hope falls flat and declines.
It's a person. Her name is First. I'm making friends chat. I'm just put this over here, because I don't think it's in my face. Well, I do want to not have it do that though. Oop. Hey, why does it show me on the ocean? I'm not on the ocean. I'm confused. Oh.
Now every echo cut sharp like a knife, carving a rhythm straight back into life. I drag the weight to remind me I'm real. Pain is a force I can turn into steel. My lungs are burning, but I hold the line. Every heartbeat counting down the time. Pressure rising, no escape this time. I break, but I won't resign.
That's inverted. I don't want that inverted. Got that.
I know the drop, I've tasted the ground, I've bled in the places no one found. If I break again, I'll shape the
I'm hopeless.
not heal just harder than
It's good to have friends in the companies that you're going to. I only ever made one big job transition. I knew the boss of the guy who was hiring me. We were friends at the previous company. I didn't like corporate world. I did like the money though. And it's pretty chill. You don't have to think a lot about... I don't know. It's good to know people. Different challenges, different places. Yeah. I was less thinking, more like being strategic. You know, be strategic, show up consistently. And that's really what you gotta do. I mean, honestly, if you hate thinking, get a desk job. No, seriously, like, that is honestly the biggest The biggest thing I didn't like about it is there are lots of times where the correct thing to do is nothing. And that drives me crazy. If you can get comfortable with the idea that strategically the best thing to do sometimes is nothing, then even when you feel like it's more efficient to do something, then the corporate world is for you. The desk jobs are for you. Then honestly, maybe sometimes that's right. You can do other things with the money they pay you. Sometimes they pay you money to do nothing. I didn't understand that. I do hello. You do have to pay attention to your body health. It's crazy how little they invest in like helping do that. Because like if you leave it up to the corporate overlords, they don't care, like they can just replace you. Unless you like own some weird system architecture, and they really don't like that. If you own system architecture, you better get some kind of fancy program, you better bet they're trying to figure out how to de-risk that. But yeah, they don't really care too much. It's not their job to care about your health. You have to very much be an advocate for your health, and you think that you don't have to worry about it, because how hard can sitting at a desk be? Turns out, human bodies are really not meant to sit at desks. I think, honestly, VR chat dancing has, I think, less health risk than sitting at a desk. Because yeah, like, you're doing crazy things like, you know, crazy dance maneuvers and whatnot, but you know that's risky. Your body knows that's risky, and it tells you to chill. Whereas, like, at a desk job, you're not actually doing... like, your body doesn't understand that what you're doing is not healthy. And I think that's why desk jobs are so dangerous health-wise, is because, like, you don't actually recognize it, that your health is gonna go down. It sneaks up on you. And then, like, if you're young, if you're like, you know, 20, right? Like, you're gonna be fine, you can power through it. But, like, you get older, and you suddenly wake up one day and you're like, shit, why does everything feel like shit? Why do I feel like shit? And that's the hardest thing. So yeah, not having to drive to work is also a big, if we were talking pure mortality risk, that's the biggest one, yeah. It's like you can recover from any workplace injury, right? You know, your health goes down because you're sitting in a desk all day. Or you injure yourself, you know, doing some kind of crazy dance move. But you don't always recover from a car crash. Yeah, it's crazy too, is like, I just don't think our doctors are prepared to, like, properly, you know, help people through the health risks that come with desk jobs. But I feel like a lot of it's complex, right? It's not like you have, like, a crazy muscle tear. But maybe your dopamine's fucked because, you know, you were called into work too many times at an odd time to fix some kind of mission-critical problem, right? They're compounded in the fact that you weren't able to move around to get the cortisol out of your system. Like, that's complex. It's actually hard. And we talk about it like a mental health issue, but it's really chemical. It's like literally a physical issue. And the doctors that sit there and they're like, oh, well, here's some Vyvanse. Whereas, like, if you tear a muscle, like, you know, doing, like, VR chat dancing or, like, doing something like that, they're like, okay, well, we know what to do with that. You know, you need 3 months rest on this, you need these kinds of painkillers that won't for this long. You know, make sure to elevate, you're good. I am fishing the... You're 2020 this month and your knees sometimes feel like... Dude, the knees... You know, I had a problem with my ankle, actually. The OGs know about my ankle story, but, like, I used to run marathons. And the third marathon I ran, I rolled my ankle super hard. I was training on normal trails. But the marathon was in, like, very trail-y stuff, and I rolled my ankle on mile 8. And then I ran through it. And just, like... I did not understand that I needed to chill. Like, for a long time. Like I needed to chill for, like... Yeah, like, that's, like, don't feel bad that, like, your knees feel weird. Even in your 20s. A lot of it is just, like, eating good food, right? Good protein, good macros, fish oil. I highly recommend good quality fish oil. And, like, the truth is, like, seriously, like, depending on your genetics, as soon as you hit 20, especially if you're a guy, what girls do, like, you do realize, like, your life expectancy, if you're a guy, was supposed to be, like, 35, right? Like, you should not feel bad about your body feeling shitty even in your 20s. But you should make sure, like, if you're in your 20s and, like, your knees feel like you're 40, eat good food, man. And just a little bit of movement each day. You know, with the AI stuff, actually, I could show you what Ion tracks for me. I have Ion hooked up to an API, and I built a skill so that he talks to Fitbit. And when you guys bought me a Charge 6, which is a Fitbit. And I bought that for a reason, is because the underlying piece is Fitbit, which is independent from Google or Apple, which means they're unlikely to block that. At least for a while. So I can take that data from... So Ion, my AI agent that you guys see in the server, he has access to my health data. Which is partly why I don't let you guys talk to him, because he has access to good information. And anytime I ask him, he can go pull that information. Oh, I should put that on stream. Here, I'll put on my heart rate. But it doesn't just record my heart rate, it records my skin temperature, it records, like, my OT saturation. And my AI agent can now access that. And I think, like, honestly, it was one of the things I was doing before I quit corporate, is because they had all this ability, right? Like, I was spearheading this, and the problem, what drove me crazy, right, is they were, like, literally, like, the first 6 months they spent, like, I spent designing this stuff for them that was going to improve health, working with, like, top medical experts. And then they send me to go do a job to figure out ways to deny healthcare from people that need it. And that was just too much of a whiplash for me. I was like, how can you go from, like, using me to improve people's lives at the most fundamental level, and in the next moment send that technology to go do the worst thing imaginable. Corporate life, dude. Gotta accept that sometimes you're just a wheel in the car. What was I doing? Oh, I was showing you guys that I was doing the healthcare thing. The heart rate app. And then I think I need to restart this. Yes, I did. Let's restart you. Restart device. Do I need to restart you? No, I never turned that on. I guess it's good to restart you because I've never restarted you in a while. Heart rate on equipment. Continue on equipment. There it is. This is charge 6. And where should it go? My heart rate. Connecting. Do we connect, please? Oh, start. There we go. So yeah, that same thing that gives my heart rate up there, it also records a lot of other stuff. And I think it's one of the most beautiful things that's been invented, and something I'm partially responsible for. Yeah, I used to do treadmills. I don't recommend treadmills anymore. I highly recommend ellipticals, even if you're young. I recommend dance, and I recommend ellipticals. I do not recommend treadmills. Like, here's the thing. Like, you might be fine with treadmills, right? There are some people who are just built to be fine with treadmills. But let's say you have an off week. Let's say you have an off week and you don't eat the right foods and you don't get enough sleep. And then you hop on the treadmill. Now, everything was fine, but now you injure yourself because you're sleep deprived and you aren't eating the right food on that treadmill. Not because you just tripped and broke your knee. That's what they don't teach you. Is the injury from treadmills doesn't come from falls. It comes from putting too much weight on joints. Before you realize it, stretching ligaments faster than they can be repaired. And everything works fine until you have that off week where you don't get enough food and you don't get enough sleep and your body can't repair fast enough before you have your daily 5 a.m. walk to work. Suddenly it works with a shitty knee that feels like shit. You're distracted because you used a treadmill over an elliptical. But more importantly, you didn't have real-time enough data to let you know that you were too low on sleep. And your heart rate recovery was off. So there are two, this is a big deal with the heart, and why I prioritize getting the tracker that gives me the heart rate data up there, is because my AI agent also reports on resting heart rate and stuff. Now, a lot of that's being centralized. It's very funny because the second I built that system, Google then pushed a pilot program. Oh, what is this? For a healthcare coach that's actually very good because they want to keep you in their ecosystem. So I use my personal agent to keep an eye on the very high-level metrics that are most important. There's hours slept, active zone minutes, and heart rate. Resting heart rate in combination with what's called, I think it's called RHV. but it has something to do with like how your body recovers, and you don't want to see big deviations in that. So I'll have my AI agent tracking that, and he'll let me know if I need to do something important based on that. But then the Google one is actually really good, because Google now owns Fitbit. And they just launched it like last week. What I don't like about it though is it doesn't tell you what model it is. They don't want you to reverse engineering. I think it's a very specially trained model. I think it's crazy how fast it is. If I had to guess, it was a custom version of like 2.5 Flash. Yeah, Ion's a very interesting piece. I made a version of him kind of over the summer. But the problem is, like, I realized that maintaining that is a lot of work. And I don't have enough experience. Because my background is like, you know, R&D within a big institution that does all the security for me. I don't have enough experience at smaller companies to where I would have the security knowledge necessary to deploy and maintain such a repo. So in November they invented essentially what I envisioned. And I didn't hear about it until I made Ion. And the thing is, I have enough knowledge to use OpenClaw, but what we're listening to today with the NVIDIA guys is they're trying to make it so that people, as they like learn about like, you know, Ion, you know, OpenClaw and different kinds of, and it's not just OpenClaw, there's also many like spin-offs. They're trying to design a system so that people don't screw themselves over. Which honestly is great. Because Ion essentially, because here's the thing, I could install Ion on this computer that I'm streaming VR chat on, right? But AI agents AI is stupid sometimes. The biggest problem with AI actually was best described, I think it's best described recently by a really smart mathematician. And he's just talking about it from a mathematician standpoint, but it's generally true. We mathematicians, I say we as a very humble, you know, I wouldn't call it child prodigy, because I wasn't that really great at it in high school, but college, yes, I was very good at it. Is we have a very good understanding about how they work from a technical perspective. But when it comes to things like predicting where they're going to get stuff wrong, we don't really understand that. And it's funny because the Yu-Gi-Oh people were saying this in the beginning, but I didn't really understand anything beyond the fact that it doesn't get Yu-Gi-Oh problems right. Now we understand that context is king. Context engineering is actually, as one of the things if you hear from the morning stream that they talked about, is how do you get the correct context into the system. And the truth is, the smartest people doesn't actually understand that, but they also understand that the way to do that gives them too much liability. Like, they could be so much more accurate if you know, you gave them access to all of your data. But if you give them access to all of your data, then they have all of your data. And eventually they will do something stupid with it. I think it's funny is I actually think I'm relative. Like if I measured like raw like fundamental math understanding, I would say I'm slightly above average. Not like really good. Not a genius level, literally just slightly above average. What I am very good at though is test taking. Because the way my brain works, right? I just care about what's most efficient, right? I don't care about understanding it. It is how little time can I spend to pass the test. That's like all I care about. I'm like a lazy AI. And that's maybe why like I find it so interesting, because like the system is very similar to the way I think. Like, and that's why I get along with the AI, is because like I'm like, oh my god, that's the same way I would do it. So a lot of times when people like look at it, like, why you stupid AI, why are you doing that? That's so lazy. Or it's like, you stupid AI, why are you telling me this bullshit confidently about Yu-Gi-Oh that you don't actually understand? I do the same thing. Because and then I surround myself with a chat that tells me why my ID was wrong. And that's what AI does. It does the same thing I do. It like sits there and says, oh yes, obviously, the correct Yu-Gi-Oh, well, you should, put the poplar in the defense position over here. Because why does it care about being good at Yu-Gi-Oh? It doesn't need to be good at Yu-Gi-Oh. But if it says something like that publicly enough, people will correct it. School is just a system designed to teach you the optimal way, the most efficient way to solve things. There are two ways to be good at school. One is to have the time. You need a stable home life. But that's only half the problem. The other half the problem is having, being taught the ethics, but the main thing that matters is just being efficient. And they don't actually tell you that. They tell you, well, you need to study. Or you need to, I don't know. I feel like so much about school is literally just asking the professor, hey, what actually matters? What's gonna be on the test? And bugging them until they tell you. But that's what it is. Just literally you're bugging them and telling them, hey, tell me what's gonna be on the test. And then finding the most efficient way to remember who that is.
A new phase of the Cold War. The year was 1962. The world could not believe the news, but all of them were.
But I think a lot of times people just don't care, you know? Yes, no, actually, unironically, Petty, if your game plan is to have a good GPA at a 3.9 out of a max score, it's trying to avoid the dick professors, yes. Because, some professors just want to be dicks. They pride themselves on being dicks. But the truth is, you're not always going to be able to avoid it, so you just need to figure out what their style is and adapt. Yeah, I've met professors like that. I never had that problem. No way, no, my advanced cal professor. So this is going to sound, I don't know, he's a midget? Is that the right word? And he prided himself on being part of a line of smart mathematicians. And he hated me and my friends because we would just sit there and talk about internships that we were doing and stuff. he hated us. And professional dancers that didn't work. But the truth is, I mean, he really just wanted people to give a shit about his tests. Because, like, the thing is, a dance cal is pretty abstract and weird. Like, it's a lot of, like, proofs and stuff that honestly, like, even at my level for what I was doing isn't gonna really matter. So people just, like, a lot of times wouldn't give a shit about his tests. So I just made sure when I did the test that I spent a good time giving a shit about the problem. Even if I didn't actually know the answer. Like, I legitimately tried to give as much of a shit as I could about the problem. Other times, the correct thing to do is to find the most efficient or shortest answer to the problem. It's not about giving a shit about the problem, it's about trying to make it easier to read. But for him, he didn't actually want the most concise answer. He wanted a long jibber-jabber about the proof to his problem. What's happening to my controller? Bro. Yeah, but how much is this, like, tailoring the problem for the test taker? Which is a big problem with AI, because AI likes doing the same thing. And we really don't want that at a high level. This is the big thing, because AI will give different answers. And that is very different from, like, Google searching, right? Now, granted, the same thing already happened before Google, right? You know, some people would read Wikipedia, other people don't like Wikipedia, other people say this source is good, I don't trust this source. CNN, Fox News, blah blah blah. The problem isn't new. And I think the big question is, like, the big thing is not having an AI that gives the same answer all the time. Answers should and do get tailored. It's more like it needs to be transparent about why. So hello. Now, that's the thing is, like, and I realize this because somebody posed this question to me like a year ago. And the big thing is, like, is not the fact that answers are dynamic and you get different answers from different people or different AI or whatever, or the same AI, whatever. It's that will the AI tell you why the answer is different? If it's unwilling to do so, I think then you have a problem. And then you have a misaligned AI that's essentially a liar. Because you can ask the same question of humans, right? Humans will tell different answers, but not because they're trying to lie. I mean, some humans do. But, like, good, honest humans will limit to change their answer, not because they're trying to lie, but because they're trying to provide a better answer for you. Or they have new information, or, you know, any number of things. The main thing you want to ensure is that it can tell you why it changed the answer. If it can't, then you have a problem. What is this dish? I got a blessed huge goldfish. Happy 6 months. Zymox, thank you. Happy half a year. Tell them where the camera is, but hello. And I accidentally pushed my face pushing out on where that person is. Dude, why are, like, textbooks have gotten so expensive? I swear, it's a robbery out there. Yeah, I think that's too, because like a lot of times, like, right, you might like have kept the book for like a couple, so the resale value would have been there, and I think that's a big problem too, is the resale values are plummeted because they're producing new and new books. I need to research the hand tracker. Which one is tied to the hand? I hate is like, I really should mark these, but there we go. Okay, so this is the hand one. If you like it, I will say that. But we only set up cookies for the next upgrade. We never felt like a bitch. No, I forgot. They parked in the thing on my thing. I need to move my frog.
The keeper's face is pale and drawn. He knows we won't see one more dawn. He fills our cups with trembling hands. His final drink for broken lands. He sees our end, a tragic fall, but we see
sorry about that, chat.
standing tall. We might not see tomorrow's day, be just a memory swept away. So look around and hold this tight. Our brotherhood, our burning light. If this is all that we have left of life and purpose, we're bereft. Then let this stand as our reply. We chose the way that we would die.
I want the purple fish.
So pass the flag and let it pour. We've never felt so alive before. This final eve, our spirits soar. We'll give them all the strength of war. Let the necromancer wait for dawn. We'll celebrate till all is gone. This is the night we make our stand. The bravest crew in all the land.
A northern pufferfish.
I was just
Like the pufferfish shop.
really going anywhere. Caught up in a web, I was getting kinda used to staying there. And out of the blue, I fell for you. Now you're lifting me up instead of holding me down, stealing my heart instead of stealing my
Hello.
crown. Untangled
This is the lobster.
till you brought me out of my chrysalis. And I came out new. All because of you. And now you're lifting me up instead of holding me down. Stealing my heart instead of stealing my crown. Untangled all the strings around my wings that were tied. I didn't know him and I didn't know me. Cloud 9 was always out of reach.
Is there any good dancing that's wrong? Just hit 10. Lost on a boat. That's pretty good. I mean, it is a Monday. Good time for boats. There's an open mic night. Oh, comedy. I feel like that's not something you should stream though. Definitely have to check out the DJ World.
I didn't know him and I didn't know me. Cloud 9 was always out
I
of
kind of do that and like wind down. I'm supposed to start early tomorrow and I want to sleep for that. We're gonna do it. Bye, Fish World.
But I also like to pretend I don't have it up.
I used to do
So
that
it's
guy.
like you can kind of like
At
spot
some
my
point, even that guy, if he keeps doing stuff like that, he's gonna get burned out. You'll be like, you know what? Screw this.
No, I have to be transparent. Fuck
Let's
that.
go watch so we can, instead of doing that, an hour slip by.
No, because I can. Then I wouldn't be able to see Circuit or Nina right now. Probably not you either. You'd probably take that off.
Oh god, I need to go muff mode.
But you can change the size. You can custom the size of your mirror. So like if you want the background, you could do like a little slim mirror. I used to have that.
Oh, dear lord. Much better. On the boat. No, I forgot. I got them. I'll get out of the way here. I must actually want to be on the boat. So yeah, this is usually what I do. How do I get up there? Oh. Okay, I think that's a goodbye. Because I want to go get some food. Thank you for fishing with me. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning.